Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Brian Wilson. You're listening to The Drive on Super Talk 99.7. We've got a great show lined up for you. So I want you to just get settled in and let's buckle up and see what we got going on. I think I'll start with a readout on the Hunter Biden trial. Hunter Biden on trial for checking a box on a gun form when he got a pistol. He basically they asked him, if you've ever been through this process, you know how it works. They ask you like, okay, are you currently taking drugs, or are you addicted to drugs right now? And if you say yes, well, then you can't have the gun. If you check no, then they give you the gun. And he checked that no, he hadn't been addicted to drugs. And there's a great deal of evidence that he was taking drugs perhaps that very day. And so that is a felony. And people have gone to jail for it. In fact, this particular judge, there's one case on record, a similar case, a gun case, where the judge sent the person who committed the gun crime to jail for a year. So what will happen? I mean, the evidence presented by the prosecution was very strong. In fact, some have said if you look strictly at the evidence, this is an open and shut case. But legal experts say, you know what? It's not open and shut with this jury, because this jury could be very pro-Biden. Here's Jonathan Turley, one of the great legal minds in this nation, talking about why this jury may come back with a not guilty verdict. It's something called jury nullification.
Well, I think the most compelling argument that Lowell made to the jury was stating the last name of his client. I mean, this is Bidentown. And I think if you look at the defense, this is just as clear as you can get for a jury nullification case. The defenses that Lowell put up in the opening argument collapsed within 48 hours. I mean, the prosecutor just made mincemeat out of these arguments. And there was a series of them, all of them implausible. But that's not the point. These are sort of placeholders, and they're hoping that the jury will nullify the evidence. I mean, they're not asking for the jury to question the evidence. They're asking them to ignore the evidence because there's ample evidence showing that he was doing drugs during this period in his own voice. But also you have a sizable Biden contingent in that courtroom reminding the jurors that this is Bidentown. And I think the prosecutors are worried that no matter how strong their case, they might not be able to overcome that. This was an open and shut case, and this defendant put this court through this trial. And if he is convicted, some judges actually do not look kindly upon that, that if you put everyone through a trial on a case that seems strict liability, you check the box and it was false. Some of them may feel that you have to do a little time in jail, even if it's a brief stint. So I would not discount that possibility because of what he went through or put the court through by challenging overwhelming evidence of guilt.
I mean, really, honestly, I mean, the facts are very clear. You have Hunter Biden admitting in his own words that he was taking drugs. You have text messages. You have all kinds of records and testimony from people that he was smoking crack every 20 minutes at that time. So the jury is expected to magically believe that just before he went out to buy this gun, he was smoking crack every 20 minutes. But on the day he bought this gun, he was clean, he was sober, was not taking drugs. No, if you're smoking crack every 20 minutes, that's not something that you can just stop. I mean, I think most people are smart enough to figure that. But even if the evidence is solid, there's this whole idea of jury nullification. This idea that, well, it's a Biden town and the jury, has seen Jill Biden in the front row and seen family members of the Biden clan there. And the jury, we got somebody on the jury who was actually a donor to the Biden campaign. I mean, are you going to find that one juror who just says, I'm sorry, I just am not going to find him guilty, period? And that's called jury nullification. That despite the evidence in the case, the jury just says, no, we're not going to go along with that. And it happens. And this is a very pro-Biden jury. So are we going to get what we think we should get out of this? It should be open and shut. It should be, a pretty simple case. They should come back in 15 minutes. Deliberations began after closing arguments. Here's from the Washington Examiner. Jury deliberations began in the Hunter Biden trial. A judge instructed the jury in Hunter Biden's gun trial to begin deliberating late Monday afternoon after prosecutors and the first son's defense team delivered their closing arguments. The jury can take as much time as it needs, whether it be minutes, hours, or even days, to decide whether the first son committed the 3 felony charges he's facing related to a 2018 gun purchase. Special counsel David Weiss has alleged Biden, a recovering drug and alcohol addict, lied on a federal form about his use of crack cocaine to purchase a revolver on October 12th of that year. Weiss also alleged Biden unlawfully kept the gun for 11 days while he was a drug user or an addict. During closing arguments, prosecutors told jurors to use their common sense based on the mountain of evidence they were presented during the 6-day trial that Biden was using drugs from 2015 through early 2019 and to conclude that he was a drug user around the time of the gun purchase. Judge Mary Ellen Noriega, a Trump appointee, decided ahead of the trial that prosecutors would not need to prove Biden was on drugs at the exact time he filled out the form and allegedly lied on it. Rather, prosecutors needed only to prove that he was on drugs recently enough to indicate that he was actively engaged in such conduct. Leo Wise, a government prosecutor, pointed that out during closing arguments. The form asked, "Are you an unlawful user of addicted to controlled substances?" That's basically the question at hand. Again, here's the Fox News version of it. The jury has begun deliberations, and they will set to find out what's going on there. Here we go. This is sort of another analysis from Fox News. The Hunter Biden defense team is his historic criminal trial, likely banking on a hung jury, according to one expert. That's what Hunter Biden and his defense team are banking on in this particular case. Heritage Foundation senior legal fellow Zach Smith told Fox News Digital when asked if the trial could result in a hung jury or even acquittal. Legally speaking, it didn't really seem like Hunter Biden had a defense to those charges. Particularly, some of the jurors might have had family or friends struggling with substance abuses and have some sympathy for Hunter Biden and his substance abuse issues. Hunter Biden's trial began last Monday in a federal court in Wilmington, where he faces 3 felony firearm offenses regarding the 2018 purchase of a .38 revolver from a gun shop in the state. He has pleaded, of course, not guilty to that charge. Hunter Biden had a well-documented history of drug addiction, most notably detailed in his memoir, Beautiful Things, which walks readers through his need for crack every 20 minutes at the height of his addiction. How he linked up with a female drug dealer he nicknamed Bicycles, who sold him crack cocaine on the streets of Washington, D.C., and how he could serve as a crack daddy to dealers during his spiraling addiction. The defense team does not deny Hunter Biden's history with alcohol and drug addiction. Instead, they are working to build an argument that on the day Hunter Biden purchased the handgun, he was not using crack cocaine and did not consider himself an active addict, citing his recent stint in rehab. Okay, so there you have it, all laid out. Closing arguments are done. The jury is now deliberating. Seems like to me, if I had been on this jury, the first thing that I would do if I were the jury foreman is I would just ask everybody, okay, guys, let's before we get too deep into this thing, where does the jury stand? I mean, just at first blush, do you think there's guilt here? Raise your hand. Do you think he's not guilty? Raise your hand. Just find out where you are, and then find out, which side had the majority vote. Then you go and you say, well, let's look at this and see a little further if we can bring a unanimous decision. If there is a note from the jury that comes out, and it won't usually come out on the first day if they're hung up. Usually it comes out the second or third day. We seem to have a hung jury, and then the judge will bring them in and read them generally what is known as I forget that they call, some people call it the death charge, but basically there's some language that they use predictably in this kind of stuff that would say something along the lines of, now go back in there and give it one more try, is basically what they tell the jury. And then if the jury goes back and after more deliberations, they send out a second note to say that they're hung up, then generally that is where they call the thing off. So I don't know how it's going to work out, but it is an interesting thing. One other story that I want to share with you, as long as we're talking about the Bidens. Many people come to me and they send me notes and they ask me all the time. We've even had it come up in our Free for All Fridays or our Phone Your Farm Friday segment where they will ask the question, whatever happened to the investigation into the president, Joe Biden? Well, the person carrying out that investigation, Congressman James Comer, a Republican over on the House side, says that we just hang on. We haven't finished yet, and things are about to pop.
We're just beginning, and a lot of those crimes that the Bidens have committed, the statute of limitations has run out. That was one of the complaints that the IRS whistleblower said when we had him testify in our committee. But we're going to deal with those, and we're going to deal with Joe Biden. Remember, this is an investigation of Joe Biden. Hunter Biden, Jim Biden, Eric Sherwin, Devin Archer, these are all witnesses in an investigation of Joe Biden. This was always about Joe Biden. Now, we're going to do everything we can to hold Hunter Biden and all the different shady associates accountable. This is just the beginning, but the next step will be accountability for Joe Biden. I think everyone that's kept up with this investigation will be very eager to see what the next step is. This is the first step, these criminal referrals. Everything that we refer to the Department of Justice is within the statute of limitations. In fact, there's 5-year statute of limitations. So if Merrick Garland's Department of Justice doesn't take this up in an appropriate manner, then the next administration and a new attorney general certainly can. The investigation's already been done. And with these criminal referrals, we published a 60-page report of nothing but hard evidence that no one has made a comment disputing anything we provided in the evidence.
Okay, so these criminal referrals will stand for 5 years, beyond potentially Merrick Garland's time there and
Absolutely.
Biden's DOJ. Are you saying that we could expect a criminal referral against Joe Biden for money laundering? Is that what you just said?
I think that it's no secret Joe Biden's committed many crimes, and I think that you're going to see a report very soon. That report is imminent.
Well, there you go. A big report coming out soon, imminent, in which they will lay out their case against not the family members, not Uncle Jim, not Hunter Biden, not any of the business associates, but actually lay out their case against the sitting president of the United States, who they believe has broken laws. And again, the question is, are there laws that he broke that are within the statute of limitations? And the indication he seems to be giving is, yes, that is indeed the case. So stay tuned, everybody. It ain't over yet. 20 minutes now past the hour. You know, folks, the chairman of the Federal Reserve has said that we're on an unsustainable fiscal path. We aren't going to pay off that $34 trillion debt anytime soon. You know what they'll do. They'll print money to pay interest on the debt and thus weaken the dollar. Maybe you need to make some investments that are maybe a little different. Maybe you've thought about adding gold or other precious metals to your portfolio, but you feel like you don't have the knowledge to make a smart decision in that regard. Well, I'll be honest with you, that's the way I felt. But I got the professional guidance that I needed at Nashville Gold & Coin. This is the way it works. You make an appointment, you sit down one-on-one with my friends at Nashville Gold & Coin. They'll answer all your questions, help make a precious metals investment that is right for you. It's friendly, you'll learn a lot, and you'll never be subjected to a high-pressure sales pitch. Gold and silver can be a safe haven in uncertain economic times. And my friends at Nashville Gold & Coin are standing by to answer all your questions about the precious metals market. Now, if you have some old coins laying around gathering dust, you might want to bring them along. You might be surprised just how much they're worth. I know I was. To set up that one-on-one appointment, just go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldandCoin.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
As you've been hearing Brian say, the Hunter Biden case now in the hands of the jury. Will have the latest from outside the courtroom. A woman walking her dog in Bellevue robbed in a rather disturbing way. Of course, getting robbed is disturbing anyway, but you won't believe this. We'll have the stories at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Jay, good to have you on board. And in our control room, pushing all the blinky buttons today, it's Jeff Molinoff, who is filling in for Chris, who's taking a few days off. Jeff, good to have you aboard as well.
Appreciate it, sir. Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
It's good to have you. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the border situation. Well, first of all, the first thing we need to tell you is that whatever is going on down at the border, it doesn't seem to be impacted at all by this new series of things that were put out by the president, these executive orders. That doesn't seem to be having any change at all in all of that. In fact, Martha Raddatz over at ABC had a conversation with Alejandro Mayorkas this weekend, and she was pretty hard on him, saying, you say you're making big changes here, and okay, if they were such wonderful ideas that you've come up with, why did it take you so long to get around to doing this?
The ACLU has pledged to sue the administration over this policy, comparing it to a Trump-era one. I know there are differences, but the ACLU asserts that your policy will put thousands of lives at risk. If this is so great, why didn't he do it in the first place?
Martha, well, we've talked about that, and Congress needs to act. And in the wake of congressional action, this is the step that we take. And it's not the first step that we've taken. But I respectfully disagree with the ACLU. I anticipate they will sue us. We stand by the legality of what we have done. We stand by the value proposition. It's not only a matter of securing the border. We have a humanitarian obligation to keep vulnerable people out of the hands of exploitative smugglers.
And how does this actually do that? I mean, that's obviously something you've been trying to do for a long time. Everyone's been trying to do.
We have increased the number of refugees that we will accept from the Western Hemisphere. We have built safe mobility offices in Colombia, Ecuador, Guatemala, Costa Rica to reach people where they are so they don't have to take the perilous journey.
Well, you know, those offices that they've set up, part of the idea there is that they make them look at make an application through the app that they can get on their phone. And then they are flown directly into the country. That doesn't stop the number of people coming to this country. It just they're flown directly and they don't go through the border. See, that was a tricky little thing that the Biden administration came up with so that it doesn't look like there's as many people at the border. Well, we'll just fly them directly from these different countries and they can come in direct. And they're flown to cities and towns all over the country. Some of them could be right here in our own backyard. But where are the American people? Because this is clearly, there's no doubt about it, very clearly an election year issue. CBS News has done a poll on that, and they find out that a lot of Americans are in favor of deporting the illegal immigrants who are in this country now.
You know, we have a lot of the campaign rhetoric speaking of what people say they would do. You've seen the Trump campaign talking about mass deportations. We tested that in a general way in principle. Would you support a new government program that would deport all people living in the U.S. illegally? And that finds majority favor. That finds 6 in 10. It's strongest among folks who are MAGA. It's strongest among Trump supporters, but also from some Democrats as well. And I think that speaks to the general idea, not just that people see the border as a crisis, but also where we are in the campaign, where a lot of very dramatic or new proposals out there are finding favor here.
But really, people on the border say nothing has changed, and that a lot of people are just being waved on through. And these immigrants, this is the reason why the Democrats are doing it. Listen to this one immigrant who was interviewed as he came into this country illegally.
What do you think of President Biden?
Biden, I love Biden.
Why do you love him?
Biden helped us.
He helped us. Yep, that's what they're counting on. It is exactly 30 minutes now past the hour.
Yes, good afternoon. It's 3:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got a mostly sunny sky, 82 degrees, a forecast, and the latest traffic report. They're coming up. Jury deliberations are underway following closing arguments in the federal gun case against Hunter Biden. ABC News correspondent Stephen Portnoy has the latest.
Prosecutors argued it's preposterous that a Yale-educated lawyer like Hunter Biden didn't know he was a drug addict when he filled out a gun background check form. But defense attorney Abby Lowell said prosecutors offered a timeline compressed like an accordion to fill in the gaps around Biden's purchase of his handgun. Government lawyer Derek Hines countered that if the jury doesn't believe Biden was a crack addict at the time he bought his gun based on all they've heard, then no one would ever be convicted of lying on the form.
Back here in Nashville, 2 men arrested after a woman was robbed while walking her dog at the Cortland Bellevue Apartments on Old Hickory Boulevard yesterday. Metro Police spoke with a woman who said 3 men approached her, and one of them was carrying a fire extinguisher and then sprayed her and her dog with the extinguisher, and then the men proceeded to knock her to the ground and beat her repeatedly. They took her purse, cell phone, and car keys. Police responding to the scene later identified 22-year-old Quishon DeMumbrium and 18-year-old Lamar Maddox walking along Old Hickory Boulevard. Police found the woman's keys in one of their backpacks. Her other belongings were found near the complex entrance in a ditch. The 2 men were booked on felony robbery charges. They're still trying to track down that third suspect. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather, they're next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
You know, the same company you've trusted for 30 years in your crawl space is now offering a mold treatment and $500 off any mold growth solution between now and the end of this month, June 30th. I'm talking, of course, about United Structural Systems, the most trusted, most experienced crawl space repair company in Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky. Let's talk about mold. Mold growing in your basement is not good. You need to breathe easier with the USS mold treatment. Turn your crawl space into a healthy space. You don't want all that moldy air that's underneath your house to get into the house where you have to breathe it. It's just not good for your health. Now, they will give you $500 off what they call their 3-step RTE process. What does that stand for? RTE, remove, treat, and encapsulate. Now, USS doesn't just remove the growth, because you'll never get rid of all the mold if you don't go to the root of the problem and take steps to make sure that mold does not return. And the RTE 3-step process does just that. Don't wait. Humidity is rising, so call now. And remember, you get $500 off the USS Mold Treatment RTE solution. Call free for a free mold inspection. And by the way, have your entire foundation inspected at no extra charge. Find out if everything's okay underneath your house. Good to know. USS is here to help for all your foundation and waterproofing needs. Visit USSTN.com or call this number, 615-488-7855.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
It's 37 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson. This is The Drive for Monday, June 10th. Glad that you are with us as you move about the city. I mean, many of you are going home a little early. Some of you going out to pick up the kids. I mean, whatever it is that has you moving about the city, we are glad that you're listening to Super Talk 99.7, either on that thing we call a terrestrial radio, or maybe you're listening on one of the apps, or maybe you're watching us on Super Talk TV. Hi, if you are. But we're glad that you're rocking with us, and will stay with us. We got a lot of stuff to cover. Let's do a 2024 update. I have some numbers from CBS that I think is very interesting, because one of the things we've been wondering from the very beginning is, okay, this whole trial that Trump went through in New York City, we got 34 counts of guilty against the former president, and does that have any impact on the 2020 election? And it looks to me like, no, not really. CBS News did some extensive polling using their CBS News YouGov model. And just on the national or the battlegrounds, it's pretty much tied. I mean, Trump leads by 1 point Trump leads by 1 point nationally with the general election number in their poll, and Biden leads by 1 point in the battleground states, which, by the way, I have some questions about that, because most other people show him doing better in the battleground states than this poll does. But I mean, for all practical purposes, it's a wash. It's a 50-50 race when you look at the numbers. But what they were trying to find out is, and asking certain questions is, did the trial have any impact on the way you look at Donald Trump as a candidate? 28% said it was a major factor in how they would vote. Well, that could go either way. I mean, a major factor because it drives you to vote for Trump, or is it a major factor because it drives you away from voting for Trump? Not made clear in that question. Some said, 17% said it was a minor factor, but the largest number, 55%, said not a factor at all. The issues that they have that are grabbing people's attention, 81% said it's the economy. Sort of the same line there, 75% said that they're very concerned about inflation. 74%, and this is a stupid question again, because, they say, well, how do you feel about the state of democracy? Are you worried about it? Well, yeah. There may be some on both sides who have different reasons for being worried about the state of democracy, but that comes in at 74%. Crime, 62%. The U.S.-Mexico border comes in at 56%. Gun policy comes in at 52%. The Trump conviction, that was a major factor in the way that 28% of people were going to vote. But again, that doesn't tell you whether it drove people to vote for him or drove people away from voting him. So I don't understand the logic of that question. The guilty verdict in your vote for Trump. They asked this of likely Trump voters. Is the guilty verdict in your vote, is it 14% said it was to show support after the conviction? 15% said to show support despite his conviction. But overwhelmingly, Trump voters said that the conviction was not a factor at all, 71%. When you ask likely Biden voters why they are voting for Joe Biden, the largest number is 54% who say, well, because we oppose Trump. Okay, if you are an ardent Biden supporter, not surprising that's one of the things. But it's not because they like Biden. Only 27% of those who were polled who were likely Biden voters say that they actually like the man. Pretty shocking. And 19%. This gives you some indication. They said, well, I'm voting for him because he's the Democrat nominee. In other words, I'd vote for a yellow dog if he was running as a Democrat. A yellow dog Democrats right there. And then 2024 election, see your decision mainly, talking to all likely voters here, as comparing Biden and Trump, 51%, 26% a judgment about Biden. 26% a judgment about Trump, 22% a judgment about Biden. So there you have some of the numbers. Again, the thing I draw from this, most importantly, I think it's a wash pretty much, that conviction. No indication that it's having real impact on where people are. I think, honestly, folks, I got to be honest with you. I truly believe that this is locked, pretty much locked. I mean, there's a small number of people out there who say they haven't made up their mind. But, I mean, we know Donald Trump. We know him pretty well. He was our president. We know Joe Biden. He's been our president for the last 3.5 years. We know what we liked about the Trump years, and we know what we dislike about the Biden years. I don't think there's any surprises here. In some elections you're still trying to figure out, who is this guy? Who was Michael Dukakis, really? Who was that guy? When they were, you're trying to figure out the person and what they stand for. There's really little doubt about what these two individuals stand for and the kinds of government that they would lead. You know them. So, I think people have made up their mind pretty early on this. Now, again, there's a small number of independents, a lot of people in the middle, who wake up 2 days before the election and say, oh, there's an election. I guess we better go out and vote. Huh? I hadn't even given it any thought. Imagine that, but that's true. And where are those people? It's never easy to figure that out. Trump was in Nevada this weekend. And just for the record, it is Nevada, not Nevada. It's the Sierra Nevada mountains, but the state is called Nevada. And they get really testy about it in Nevada when you say Nevada. So pro tip, Nevada. In a bid to win over Nevada's service industry workers, Trump at a Vegas rally said that he would allow tips that were gathered by service workers to be tax-free. He told a rally Sunday in Las Vegas he would work to make tips tax-free, an apparent appeal to workers in the city's huge service industry. Brilliant strategy, by the way. The temperature at the event at city's Sunset Park is about 100 degrees at noon when he took the stage. In anticipation of the heat, they supplied the rally with 3 bottled waters tents with air conditioning and shade, misting and cooling stations, and additional medical staff. In an hour-long speech, which he sat out there in his jacket for an hour, and he kept going and going and going, just like the Energizer Bunny. Apparently, there were big problems with the teleprompter, but I didn't stop him. He still just kept on going and going and going. And on this thing about not taxing tips in Las Vegas, how huge is that? Here is a CBS producer, Olivia Rinaldi, who was in the crowd and talked to some of the people. They looked at this as a very big deal.
This was a huge announcement from the former president. And you mentioned there, this is crucial for service workers like waiters and waitresses, especially hotel workers here in Las Vegas. And I will note, it did get a very loud applause line at the rally yesterday in Las Vegas. But back to that point about the taxes on tips, a big announcement from the former president. Basically, what this means is that any wages that are earned through tips, Trump is saying we would no longer add taxes on them. That is something that people are required to report to the IRS, as you mentioned.
Well, that would be a big deal for people who work in restaurants. Here in Nashville, that would be a huge thing because there's so many people in the entertainment industry who work on tips. They don't make much in the way of salary, but they make a lot in tips. And if you didn't have to pay taxes on tips, wow.
I did talk with some hotel workers yesterday, some service workers here in Las Vegas, about how that is playing with them. And Anne-Marie, about 6 people told me that would change their vote. That is enough to make them switch from voting Democrat to Republican if Donald Trump is promising something like that to them.
Nevada he's in the hunt. In fact, he leads in most of the polls in Nevada. There's no doubt about that. Arizona and Nevada, Trump is doing very well. I think we looked at the numbers I'd say about 4 points. He's up by 4 points in each of those 2 states. So, if you are able to tell, service workers who rely on tips to make, that you don't have to report those tips, that whatever you make in tips, you just put in your pocket. Whew, man, I'm telling you, what a cool thing that would be for so many people who work in those kinds of jobs. And usually people who work in, they're not setting the world on fire and not having to pay taxes on the tips. Well, that would be a huge thing. Then we get down to when will Trump actually announce his vice presidential pick? Now, he has said on 2 occasions that I've heard, and he's very specific about it, that he would do it during the convention. He says, in the convention. We'll do that in the convention, is what he says. Former President Trump plans to announce his pick for vice president at the Republican National Convention in July, as suspense builds over which GOP figure Trump will choose to join him in his 2024 ticket. Are you going to tell me who your vice president is? He was asked by Dr. Phil McGraw in an hour-long interview released last week. I can't yet, but we have some good people. I'm going to do it in the convention. Now, a lot of times it's been done just before the convention, but Trump likes to play things out for the suspense of it all. The former president has previously hinted there would be a good chance he would announce his running mate at the convention in Milwaukee. That's July 15th through the 18th. He hinted at the same plan to Fox News last week, saying, I think I'll announce that person who's going to be during the convention. He says in the convention, not before. I think that's pretty normal during the convention. It'll be an interesting period of time. Speculation is intensifying over which names are at the top of Trump's rumored list. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum. I want to say this again because people, when we did our Phone Your Farb Friday, people were throwing out names that aren't on this list. The North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, Senators Marco Rubio, Tim Scott, and J.D. Vance. That's Marco Rubio of Florida, Tim Scott of South Carolina, J.D. Vance of Ohio, have all reportedly received vetting requests from the Trump campaign. The Republican National Committee has said it's planning for the possibility that the former president, the party's presumptive nominee, will be jailed during the convention. Yeah, do you think that judge, what's his name, Juan Merchan in New York, you think that he would actually go as far as to put Donald Trump in jail? I don't think so, but who knows? You can't predict. I sort of, my guess, everybody says, well, he could do this. He could say, I sentence you to jail for 2 years, and then I give you a suspended sentence so you don't actually have to go to jail. I could see him doing something like this. You're going to spend one night in jail just to make the point. I don't know what's going to happen there one way or the other, but that's my guess. If I were a guessing man, I'd say do something like that. And then there's a lot of people who are writing over the weekend about whether or not Joe Biden should step down. The Atlantic, this guy's got an evil pen. Mark Leibovich. Oh, I remember this guy. I've run into him. He's writing for The Atlantic, very liberal writer. He penned a scathing op-ed bashing President Joe Biden as weak and too old to run. He compared Biden to the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, with a headline claiming no matter obstacles that Donald Trump creates for himself, Joe Biden's candidacy remains an existentially risky, perhaps disastrous proposition. Now, I don't read The Atlantic. I haven't read an article in The Atlantic in 20 years, probably. And I'm not going to start now. And I'm not going to give them money to read their articles. But the synopses I've read of this article was, and believe me, liberals read The Atlantic. It's a very powerful publication for those on the left. And this thing resonated like a bell ringing, I'm pretty sure. 51 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Let me tell you, if I could, about the folks over at Eurofix. They want to ask you a question. What was it like the last time you were at an auto repair shop? Was it smelly, greasy? Were there old rags lying around? Was there a filthy countertop that you wouldn't dare touch? Well, you know what stinks in another way is repair shops that keep your car forever. They're not honest with you, and they don't call you back when they say they will. If that was your last experience at a vehicle repair shop, maybe it's time for you to try Eurofix. Eurofix takes the stink out of European auto repair. At Eurofix, you get a free 15-minute, no-wrench inspection with every estimate at every visit. No high-pressure sales tactics. At Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. Never pay dealer prices. Eurofix is now located in Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and their newest facility in Mount Juliet. Call 844-EUROFIX. That's 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com and tell them your friend and radio buddy Brian Wilson sent you.
The Hunter Biden trial now in the hands of the jury. Donald Trump, he spoke to a conservative forum today. We'll let you know some of what he said. And Secretary of State Blinken, he's back in the Middle East to work on that Gaza peace deal. We'll have those stories and more at 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 58 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. We have a little bit of breaking news here. Let me get this going here. The Hunter Biden gun trial has adjourned for the day. The jury is now considering the case, but no verdict today. There will be no verdict today. They'll pick it back up tomorrow. So that just ends. Let's take a look at the markets and see how they close. I see a lot of green here today. Dow Jones Industrials up 69 points. The S&P up 13. The NASDAQ was up about 60 points today. Apparently, everybody's waiting very, very patiently, or maybe a bit impatiently, at looking to see what kind of decision we're going to get out of the Fed. Let's find out more about all that from John Maxon over at Beacon Capital Management. He can give us some readout on what's driving the market today. Good afternoon, John.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. You're right. This week is all about the Fed. The market was up today. In fact, the S&P had its 26th record close today, which is pretty remarkable. A little bit of a bounce back from the sell-off, a little bit of sell-off we got on Friday. Not a lot of economic news, but the big news this week is going to be the Consumer Price Index. Of course, that's going to give the Fed a lot more information on where inflation is headed. It's one of the key reports that's coming after a stronger than expected jobs report last week. And just last week as well, the European Central Bank and the Bank of Canada actually cut rates, but the Fed is expected to leave rates unchanged, but to also give a little bit of an idea of how many rates cuts they're going to have this year. And then Jerome Powell will speak to the press on Wednesday afternoon. So it's a big week for the Fed.
All right, thank you very much. Let's take a look very quickly. Just remind you, by the way, that you can find out more about all the things that the folks at Beacon Capital Management can do for you by going to their website, askbeaconnow.com. It is 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 2 minutes past 4 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. A bit of sunshine still. 81 degrees now on Music Row. A full forecast and the latest traffic report are upcoming. Jury deliberations did begin today for the Hunter Biden trial in his federal gun case. Here's Stephen Portnoy with ABC News on the case.
Prosecutors argued it's preposterous that a Yale-educated lawyer like Hunter Biden didn't know he was a drug addict when he filled out a gun background check form. But defense attorney Abby Lowell said prosecutors offered a timeline compressed like an accordion to fill in the gaps around Biden's purchase of his handgun. Government lawyer Derek Hines countered that if the jury doesn't believe Biden was a crack addict at the time he bought his gun based on all they've heard, then no one would ever be convicted of lying on the form.
The jury has been dismissed for the day, so no verdict. They will pick up again tomorrow. Donald Trump making a virtual appearance during the Life and Liberty Forum hosted by the Danbury Institute today. The organization, which is dedicated to promoting Judeo-Christian values, has taken a strong stance on reproductive rights. While Trump didn't really reference abortion or whether he would move to enact a national ban while in office, he did reference innocent life when vowing to protect the assembly's rights and values.
We have to defend religious liberty, free speech, innocent life, and the heritage and tradition that built America into the greatest nation.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken beginning his 8th trip to the Middle East this week since October 7th, telling reporters he believes negotiations for a ceasefire have indeed reached a critical point. Here's ABC's Karen Travers.
Secretary Blinken said that all countries that have ties to Hamas should be pushing the group to accept this deal. He said, if you want to end the suffering of the Palestinian people in Gaza, press Hamas to say yes. If you want to get the hostages home, press Hamas to say yes. In terms of a timeline, Secretary Blinken could not say when they expected to get a formal response from Hamas, but said there is a sense of urgency right now from all parties involved.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather, we've got them next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's 8 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy on this 10th day of June. It's Monday, and you know what? Temperatures are going to be really nice this week. Actually, may even get into the 90s as the week progresses. Right now, I got a lovely 82 degrees and very pleasant weather outside. Very nice weather. This is about as good as it gets. But I think by the time of the end of the week gets here, you're going to say, well, that's a little warm. It's a little warm. As you know, on this program last week, we did a lot of groundbreaking reporting about the Covenant shooting and a lot of information about the shooter. In fact, we ran several stories. The Tennessee Star has run, I think, more than 30 stories about the shooting based on documents that they have received. We have received some documents here for this program, and we have talked about some of the things that we've learned in it. My newest document is actually a page from the writings that were found in the shooter's car on the day of the attack. And what I can tell you about it is it's very troubling. Well, I think this actually is from a page that was from one of the diaries that were found at home. There were some 20 documents that were found. I think this comes from the documents found at home, indicating that that she had wanted to carry out the attack at the school in January of 23 on the 17th day. For some reason, she had a fixation on dates that ended on 7. She wanted to run it. She wanted to carry out the attack on the 17th of January, but for reasons that aren't clear, she chose not to go through with that. And she is writing. She's gone back and updated her writings and her diaries to reflect the fact. In fact, on the 16th of January, she wrote to a friend of hers by the name of Paige, "I'm going to kill people tomorrow." Then she scratched that out and put in parentheses, "someday. Please don't be mad. I'm going to do something bad tomorrow." She scratched out tomorrow and added sometime. "It's too sad even to think what you might feel. I love you. I'm so sorry." I mean, there, in many ways, she seemed to be fixated on two individuals, one known as Paige, one known as was her friend Nikki. And then she wrote in the page that I have, she wrote, "I think God will enter me in heaven. If I do get there, I'll be waiting for you. All of our pain will leave us." And then in a more aggressive handwriting that investigators believe may have been that when she was writing as Aiden, her alter ego, her male alter ego, wrote in very bold letters, "I just have to die." I mean, there was a lot of weird stuff in these diaries, some 20 diaries that they have, but her parents never picked up on any of this. And they were asked by investigators, was there something that happened at Covenant? They were trying to figure out why the attack was aimed at Covenant.
Did she speak about her experience? I know she was very, very young in elementary school. Did she speak about her experience at Covenant School at all?
Sure.
Did it appear to be a positive experience?
It's a very positive thing.
Well, because I spoke with a lot of the staff there, and even them were like, we had nothing but positive experiences with Audrey. So I was wondering if she expressed the same thing or not, if she ever expressed anything different that would suggest anything sideways.
Yeah, the motto of the school, the first head of school, the motto was for the children, you can't say, you can't play. Nobody gets shut out. And I mean, that's the way the place was.
Oh, well, that's nice. Did she end up leaving there before, or she went the duration of how long?
She went from kindergarten through the 4th grade.
4th grade. Oh, okay.
And then we decided to go with Metro Nashville Public Schools, and they start middle school in 5th grade. So Covenant goes through the 6th grade, but we stayed there through the 4th grade.
Oh, okay, cool.
She was in the charter class.
Yeah, in the charter class. And you know what? The folks over at the school have no idea those who remember her say, we can't understand. We thought that she was completely lovely. We didn't have any kind of conflict with her. And her parents said that, that was the big mystery. Why was it that everybody around her thought that she was one person, but she wrote in such a different way in her journals?
It seemed like when she graduated college, she was happy. This is the thing, that people are so upset about. That the Audrey that everybody knew, was not the Audrey on March 27th.
Yeah, but in the diaries, it's a whole different person. Now, her mother said that she could write better than she could express herself with words. And that may be why she was never able to express the things she was feeling to those around her and why it was such a surprise. From the Tennessee Star, the Covenant killer, Audrey Hale, left parents a suicide note with instructions, "If I don't survive my massacre." Metro Nashville Police Department investigators found the note posted to Hale's bedroom wall, which the Star has learned was adorned with childhood memorabilia and photos. Addressed to her parents, Hale also mentioned her brother Scott in the two-paragraph note. "If I don't survive my massacre, I want my room to be left exactly as it is left." Hale began her note. She instructed her mother and father, "I don't want any of my possessions down in that dingy basement." She apparently did not like the basement. In all capital letters, Hale continued, "Please read my will," where she explained her parents would find instructions about what to do with her stuffed animals and other possessions. She was really attached to these stuffed animals. She had some in the car with her on the day of the attack. In all capitals, they said, while Hale did not offer details about her planned attack in the suicide note, she signified concerns about repercussions for her surviving family members. "I'm worried what you and Scott will have to go through," wrote Hale. "I'm sorry, but it's my time to go. I love you, Aiden." And as you know, Hale was born a biological woman, but identified as a transgendered man at the time of her death. She adopted the name Aiden when she began identifying as transgender. The existence of the suicide note was confirmed on April 4th, 2023, when an inventory of items seized from the search warrant on the Hale family home was published. Among Hale's writings are journal entries that suggest she previously planned the attack, as I mentioned, in January of 2023. For at least 5 years she had been planning this, had fantasized about it, and reportedly planned killing her father, and repeatedly called a phone number identified as a National Suicide Prevention Helpline. So there is all that. There is a lot to unpack here. Again, the Tennessee Star has had access to a great number of documents. I've had access to a limited number of documents, but from what I can tell you here, it seems that she was an immensely troubled individual, but those around her didn't pick up on it because she apparently did not have the ability to express the things that she was feeling and saying in words. Her mom mentioned, for example, one time that when she got a phone and she began texting her, she said it was like a different person because when she was writing text messages, her thoughts were more complete. Her thoughts were more clear. And her mom said, it's like I was talking to a different person. So when she wrote, she was able to say things that she could not enunciate, thoughts and ideas that she couldn't speak about. She could say in her diary. And I must tell you what limited access I've had to the diary. And I'm looking at a page of it now. It's troubling. If you were to stumble across any of this and read it, you would say, there's something not right here. But unfortunately, her parents never thought to look. Even back in the days when she started the diaries in middle school, she had homicidal ideations. She talked about killing people. She talked about killing her father. She talked about maybe carrying out another attack against one of the other schools, a middle school that she attended, but she never followed through on that. And she was completely obsessed with a number of girls. One was Sydney, a girl that was in her life who died in a car accident, and that was traumatic, both for the family of Sydney, but also for apparently the shooter. She wrote about it extensively. She had an obsession about black and brown girls. She writes here, for example, brown girls have the nicest skin, especially yours, talking about her late friend, Sydney. Truth is, I'd die. I'd rather die. And then in big, bold letters immediately after, almost in a different persona, maybe the persona of Aiden, she writes, I hate my thoughts. So she obsessed about things. She would go back and change some of the earlier entries. But it's clear she had homicidal ideations for years. And I think the remaining question for investigators and the things that they're trying to figure out is, did any of her many therapists and many people who worked with her over the years. I mean, she had food issues. She dealt with some people there. She had to go to the emergency room twice with thoughts of suicide, talked to a number of people there. She was under treatment at Vandy Psych Unit for a number of years, 22 years perhaps. And as a part of all that, did she ever tell them about her ideations of carrying out a school attack? Some indication that indeed she did. Why was that not reported? Why was that not followed up upon? Why were police not notified of that? Or if they were, what did police do with that information? These are, for me, the remaining questions. And we'll be continuing to poke around on this story for the next few days as more and more of this information is being made public. I will have to say it's the Tennessee Star and me sort of out here alone, because even though we've been talking about this, there have been what seems to be zero interest on the part of the local TV stations, on the part of the local newspaper, to follow up on any of the things that we have reported based on documents that come from the investigation of the Nashville Police Department. It is now 20 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Well, let's talk about Grace Point Healthcare. It is the standard for affordable, comprehensive, and convenient medicine. And how does that work? Well, as a direct pay provider, your healthcare is delivered without the red tape of an insurer's guidelines. Smart Care plans make it even more affordable. Starting at $69 a month, you get free office visits and free basic labs for an entire year. Grace Point will identify and treat the root causes of a condition, not just the symptoms, using a comprehensive and functional approach. And by usually seeing you the same day or the next day, you're treated at your convenience. Grace Point Healthcare, affordable, comprehensive, and convenient medicine delivered the old-fashioned way. They are located on Main Street in Franklin. Here is the number, 615-599-6868. That's 599-6868 to set up your first appointment.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Donald Trump speaking to a conservative forum today. We'll let you know a little bit of what he said, and we'll also have today's closing money news. That's coming up at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
25 minutes now past the hour. That's Jay Harper who'll be having the news for you as we're sort of in that stage now where we're trying to figure out what to do with the departure of Mac Morey. But Jay Harper doing an excellent job there in the newsroom in the interim. And again, we have Jeff Molinoff, who's with us in the control room, filling in for Chris Weber, who was taking a week of well-deserved vacation away from my crazy. I mean, I drive poor Chris a little crazy from time to time. And he just, there are times when he just says, I'm sorry, I've had enough, I've got to get away from that Wilson guy. He's driving me nuts. No, he just needs a week of vacation. So he'll be back next week. On the business scene, here's an interesting little statistic. The Biden people keep talking about job creation. And it's interesting when you break it out, just who are these jobs going to? Someone had the idea of breaking it out and looking at, well, how many of the jobs have gone to natural-born citizens of the United States versus people who came to this country maybe into this country as immigrants or maybe illegally as immigrants. And it turns out that almost all of the job growth in America that the Biden administration is so quick to point out, we've created jobs. Well, a lot of those jobs were jobs that were going to be created anyway when you came out of the pandemic. But what's interesting is any job growth that they can point to is all been among people who are illegal immigrants, they're immigrants, let's put it that way, both legal and illegal. No natural-born citizens of this, there's no increase at all in jobs for American-born, natural-born citizens. Isn't that interesting? It's absolutely dead flat when you look at natural-born citizens, but everybody else, foreign-born citizens, are the ones who are getting these new jobs by a dramatic amount. By the way, the folks at Apple today, they had a big meeting with what they call the Worldwide Developers Conference, where they lay out all the things that they are going to do with their products going forward. And it seems that the big news is a lot of artificial intelligence is going to be introduced into the iPhone, the Mac, and the iPad. OpenChat's AI, ChatGPT, is going to be incorporated into Siri, and they'll have new operating systems, a big Siri update with AI, updates on the AirPods and TV for Apple, TVO operating center for Apple TV. There'll be upgrades to the Apple Watch. But it's really all about, the big news is reverberating is how artificial intelligence is going to be a part of Apple products going forward. And they're telling this, of course, to the people who develop software for the iPhone and for Apple products. But they say if you have an iPhone, when they upgrade and they start doing all of this magic stuff with artificial intelligence, or what they call Apple intelligence, you're going to have a top-end phone. Right now, the only phone on the market that will run any of this stuff, I'm told, is the 15 Max Pro, which, incidentally, I just upgraded to, so at least I'll be covered on that. But I don't know about you, but I'm not liking my early interactions. For example, Facebook now has an artificial intelligence component to it, and I just find it irritating. I went as far as trying to figure out how to get rid of it. And apparently the answer that comes back when you ask the question is, you can even ask the artificial intelligence, how do I get rid of you? And it says, I'm sorry, you can't. I'm sorry, Dave, that's simply not possible. It feels like it's something from 2001 when you're having a conversation with the artificial intelligence that's buried in your Facebook program. But no, apparently you cannot get rid of it, and it bothers people, and I don't want it in my way. I want to search for things the old-fashioned way, not with artificial intelligence. But for better for worse, it is coming, And it'll be interesting to see how these products change with the introduction of artificial intelligence. It's 30 minutes now past the hour, 4 o'clock. Time for the news.
It is 4:30 p.m. Yes, 4:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got a mostly sunny sky, 82 degrees. We'll get a forecast and some traffic to you here in a few minutes. Donald Trump made a virtual appearance during the Life and Liberty Forum hosted by the Danbury Institute earlier today. The organization, which is dedicated to promoting Judeo-Christian values, has taken a strong stance on reproductive rights. And while Trump did not reference abortion or request or give recent criticism about other religious conservative groups, he did thank the conference for its support.
I want to thank each and every one of you for your tremendous devotion to God and to country and your tremendous support of me. And I hope I've earned it because we've done things that nobody thought were possible.
Let's turn now to today's money news. With the closing news on the stock market and more, here's Daria Albinger.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. Stocks rose ahead of a busy week. The Dow closed up 69 points, the Nasdaq added 59, and the S&P gained 14, closing at a record high. All eyes are on the Federal Reserve this week. The decision its Open Markets Committee makes could set the tone for the rest of the year. Some experts think they could adjourn the statement, saying that they're seeing meaningful progress on inflation so far this year, and that could mean rate cuts could be coming. Then again, the central bank could do nothing and might leave rates right where they are. We also expect a number of top-tier companies to report their latest earnings in the coming days, including Oracle, Broadcom, and Adobe. Activist shareholder Elliott Investment Management is taking a nearly $2 billion stake in Southwest Airlines. It says the carrier is failing to keep up with other airlines and suffers from outdated technology and operations. The group wants to fire the CEO, Robert Jordan.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather, they are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Let me tell you, if I could, about the good folks over at King and Associates Insurance in Brentwood. Been there for some 25 years. An independent agency, and that's what you want. You want an independent agency. Why is that? Well, a King Insurance and Associate truly provides policies for client-specific needs, not their bottom line. And what they're going to do, because they're an independent agency, they're going to shop around. I mean, they don't have to just take one product that they sell and apply it to whatever your needs are. They can look at your needs and go out there and find the product that best addresses your very needs. And then, you're going to get a lot more bang for your insurance buck with that. You should use the folks that at King and Associates, because they will take care of you. Great customer service. You call this number, 615-329-8121. You won't reach a call center. You'll reach an actual person every time. Multi-policy discounts, they are the kings of that. 20 to 35% savings are possible So listen, why don't you get your royal review with King and Associates Insurance? All you do is you log into tkinginsurance.com and take it from there. Get that royal review. King and Insurance and Associates, you'll get royal treatment and you'll get great rates. Oh, here they are again, these annoying children. Okay. Yes, it's a woke world, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, they're not done yet. I thought they were finished, but they're not. They just go on and on. All right, children, wrap it up, wrap it up, wrap it up. Here we go. Well, it is a woke world, and we're going to bring you some news about that. And it seems like in many cases, the stories that I have today are a repudiation of wokeness. That's right. I mean, are we in the midst of a global shift to the right? Maybe. The European countries have just had their big EU elections. And as that has happened, here are some of the stories. The main takeaway after the far right rocks European politics, sparking snap elections in France. A 4-day election has shaken the foundations of the European Union, with the far right rocking ruling parties in France and Germany, the bloc's traditional driving forces. For the next 5 years, it will be harder for the European Parliament to make decisions. French President Emmanuel Macron called the snap national elections after Marine Le Pen's national rally humbled his pro-European centrists in the polls. And German Chancellor Olaf Scholz's Social Democrats also suffered as the extreme right Alternative for Germany shrugged off scandals to make massive gains. How about that? So, I mean, in Europe, there is a shift to the right after being ruled by people on the left for some time. Will that same thing happen in America? I have to tell you, this sometimes is a preview. When you see the European elections, it's sometimes a preview for what happens in this country in our November elections. Another story from the Washington Examiner. Survey finds right-wing surge in EU election results driven by similar concerns to U.S. voters. The right-wing surge in the European Union elections were driven by most of the same concerns that voters in the United States have. Improving the economy and reducing inflation was the number one issue for European voters, according to the polling platform Focal Data, shared with Reuters. It was followed by international conflict and war, immigration, and asylum seekers. Does it sound familiar? Yeah, it does. In fourth place came reducing inequality, followed by acting on climate change. The latter two topics trend to be strengths of the left-wing and Green parties, while the top three usually favor the right. So in Germany, France, Italy, Spain, and Poland, a big move toward the right, and the reason is a lot of the things that are big issues in our country right now. Does it give us some kind of preview of what we might have in America? I don't know. Hard to say, but certainly is interesting. Our Supreme Court may well soon hand the Biden administration a real blow to their way of doing business. You know, they like to do things since they can't get anything through Congress. And that's what happens when you have a divided Congress. You know, when you go out and you vote for a divided Congress, you know what you're basically voting for? Gridlock. That's what you get. You know, when your House is controlled by one body and the Senate is controlled by another, you basically that's the recipe for gridlock. Now, I mean, some people think gridlock is a good thing. If you're like I am and you think there's too much government, there's too much regulation, then one of the things that comes with gridlock is you don't get a lot of new legislation. However, what you do get is an administration which will say, well, if I can't do it through legislation, I'll do it through executive order or through regulations. And so the regulations are the thing that can really have a big impact if you're operating in that environment. The Supreme Court justices will soon decide in a pair of cases whether to reverse a decades-old precedent known as the Chevron deference that would curb federal agencies' power to regulate everything from Wall Street to the stove in your kitchen. The Supreme Court will issue a ruling that could reshape the balance of power between federal agencies and the judiciary and give small litigants due process leverage and disrupt President Joe Biden's progressive regulatory agenda. The nearly 40-year-old precedent known as the Chevron doctrine tells courts to defer to federal agencies' reasonable interpretations of ambiguous statutes, which many business and industry groups say has led to stifling regulations. In other words, you're supposed to defer to the federal agencies if Congress is not clear in the language that they provide. Conversely, the federal government contends the president respects the court's authority to interpret law while also respecting Congress's ability to delegate power to agencies in the executive branch. I think this is going to happen. This will be a huge change in America when basically the 6-3 conservative court hands down a rewrite of the Chevron doctrine, which has been the operating principles behind how regulations are interpreted. Lower courts have looked at, the Chevron doctrine. You're supposed to give deference to the federal agency. And it's been that way for a long time. But you know what? Now what happens is you've started to legislate through regulations rather when you can't get your way in the legislative process. And so I think there's going to be a pulling back of that. And when we get that, I'll go into it in greater detail, but that could be coming literally at any moment. Forget stoves, according to the Daily Caller. The Biden administration is working overtime to phase out all of your gas appliances. They intend, the Biden administration contends that it's not targeting gas stoves and other domestic conveniences afforded by fossil fuels, but its building electrification agenda is poised to effectively do just that. Several energy experts have told the Daily Caller News Foundation. The notion that the federal government would like to ban gas stoves is a myth and misinformation, according to the Department of Energy, which uploaded on a blog post in May of 23, after Consumer Product Safety Commissioner Richard Trumka suggested that a gas stove ban is on the table in a January 2023 Bloomberg interview. However, the administration is also working to advance its building electrification agenda, which would bring about similar outcomes under a different name. If they can't get you one way, they get you another. The whole building electrification effort is part of the centralized control impulse of people who gravitate to government or stand to cash in on the latest fads, irrespective of its cost or impacts on regular Americans. It's also kind of part of the electrifying everything agenda of planners and masterminds. They want everything. They don't want you to use anything. Of course, what they don't talk about is where the electricity comes from. I mean, where does it come from? A lot of it comes from coal-fired plants. So are you really solving any real environmental issues by putting more things that run electricity? No, you're just shifting it over. Now, and they say, well, we're going to close down the coal-fired plants. You do that, and you're going to find yourself with brownouts and blackouts because the demand for electricity will go up, but you don't have the generating plants to do it, and nobody seems interested in building nuclear plants right now, which is the long-term solution, if you want to know my opinion. And then there's this from Byron York, pretty interesting article. The push to promote transgender ideology is backfiring. Americans are not buying it. The White House has done a lot of roundtables affirming transgender kids. They released a list of 42 actions and policy initiatives that the Biden administration has undertaken to support transgender people. The list included Justice Department civil rights enforcement actions, intervening legally when the states violate the rights of transgender youth and their families and their minds, signing an historic executive order to advance equality for LGBTQI people, expanding access to gender-affirming care, their words, and much, much more. And on that last subject, the White House has gone all out even at times when doctors in Europe have expressed growing concern about the lasting damage caused by the irreversible medical treatments known in some circles as gender-affirming care. So there's no doubt that Biden has put the power of the presidency behind transgender ideology, writes Byron York, and yet there's new evidence that people are increasingly rejecting the fundamental tenet of transgenderism, that a man can become a woman or a woman can become a man. The new data are in a poll by the Pew Research Center. For 7 years now, Pew's been asking voters this question: which statement comes closer to your views, even if it is neither exactly right, even if either isn't exactly right? Which ones comes close? A, whether someone, a man or a woman, is determined by the sex they were assigned at birth, or B, someone can be a man or a woman even if that is different from the sex they were assigned at birth. When the question was asked in 2015, 54% of those surveyed said that whether someone is a man or woman is determined at birth, okay? 44% said it can be different. In 2021, so that's 4 years later, the number saying sex is determined at birth ticked up to 56%. In 2022, it grew to 60%. And this year, 65% of those surveyed said whether someone is a man or a woman is determined at birth, while 33% said it can be different. That is a serious change, Byron York writes. 7 years ago, just over half of those surveyed said sex is determined at birth. Now that number is nearly two-thirds say that is the way it is, that sex is determined at birth. It's going the wrong way from what the White House wants. After all the White House proclamations, all the media talk, all the change in language to gender-neutral pronouns, after it all, the number of people rejecting the foundation of transgenderism has increased. Among Republicans, 91% said sex is determined at birth, just 8% saying it can be different from birth. Among Democrats, just 39% said sex is determined at birth, and 59% said it can be different. But even among Democrats, the number who say sex is determined at birth has grown over the last 7 years, while the number who say it can be different has shrunk. So a lot of people are looking at this issue, listening to all the conversation, watching what's happening on the federal level, the talk about gender-neutral pronouns, all the talk about gender-affirming care, all of that. Americans just aren't buying it. And more, two-thirds of Americans now believe that sex is determined at birth. The contrast, York writes, is extraordinary. And so is the change. For a time, the number of people who said that a person's sex can be changed, that it can be different from birth, approached a majority. Now it is receding, and if that trend continues, the ideology that the Biden administration has so energetically promoted might no longer be the political benefit the president thinks it is. 50 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock.
The United Nations voting on a Gaza ceasefire package today. We'll have the outcome. The Hunter Biden trial now in the hands of the jury, and Donald Trump speaking to a conservative forum today. We'll have those stories coming up at 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right. And coming up in the next hour, we'll talk about the mayor's big transportation agenda, the thing that he's trying to push down everybody's throats. Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? And we'll take a trip down to the swamp. It's all straight ahead in the next hour of The Drive right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good evening. We're coming up on 5 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Still sunny, 80 degrees in Music City. A full forecast and the latest traffic report. They're on the way. At the United Nations today, a U.S. drafted resolution supporting the Gaza ceasefire hostage release deal currently on the table passed, with 14 members of the council voting in favor of the measure and only Russia selecting to abstain. Here's ABC's Karen Travers with the latest.
U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, says the ceasefire proposal on the table is the best and only way to bring about what she called a, quote, durable end to the war in Gaza.
Hamas can now see that the international community is united.
Thomas Greenfield says the 14 members of the Security Council who voted for the draft resolution supporting this proposal, quote, voted for peace.
We're waiting on Hamas to agree to the ceasefire deal it claims to want.
The jury in the Hunter Biden federal gun case, they'll be back at it tomorrow as they have adjourned for the day. Here's ABC's national correspondent Stephen Portnoy with more.
The jury got the case late in the afternoon and jurors were dismissed after just an hour of deliberations. Hunter Biden's defense team argued prosecutors offered just conjecture and suspicion to try to prove their case that Biden knew he was a drug user and a drug addict when he signed a gun background check form insisting that he wasn't. Prosecutors argued it would be preposterous to think that a Yale-educated lawyer didn't know what he was doing when he signed the form to buy the revolver.
Former President Trump delivering remarks today to a religious group with a history of staunchly opposing abortion. But the former president, whose administration was instrumental in appointing the judges who overturned Roe v. Wade, didn't utter the word abortion at all. ABC's Jay O'Brien has more.
Former President Trump didn't mention abortion rights once in his remarks, despite speaking to the Life and Liberty Forum hosted by the Danbury Institute, an organization that has called for abortion to be, quote, eradicated entirely. Trump instead talking about religious freedom. It comes as the Trump campaign has walked a fine line on the issue of abortion, the former president taking credit for nominating the conservative Supreme Court justices that were instrumental in overturning Roe v. Wade, but also saying he believes that the issue of abortion rights should be a state issue.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is 5:06 on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy. On Monday, June 10th, let's see, we had 82 degrees here right now. Beautiful outside. I was looking at the forecast. I think we're going to get into the 90s this week. It looks like it'll be really warm. Let me see. I'll pull it up here on my phone. Yeah, let's see. Friday. Well, Thursday, they say 89. It could go up to 90. Friday, 91. Saturday, 90. Sunday. And by the way, from today all the way till Sunday, for 7 straight days, I don't see anything but abundant sunshine. abundant sunshine. In the daytime hours, tomorrow will be a little cooler, 77. But then we get 83 on Wednesday, 89 on Thursday, 91 on Friday, 90 on Saturday, Sunday, 93. So no rain. I mean, after all of that, we've had so much rain. It looks like we got a nice long spell. I don't see any rain at all in the long-range forecast all the way through, not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday.
Brian, some forecasts are having us in the upper 90s by the weekend. So we could,
I'll go for some of that. I'll go. Well, I mean, honestly, I really sort of like the 80s, Jay, don't you? I mean, that's where it's really kind of...
as long as the humidity is tolerable,
low,
and there's a breeze of sorts.
In Texas, they always say, well, it's 110 degrees outside, but it's a dry heat.
Dry heat. Yeah, right.
And here we say, well, it's 86 degrees, but it's a moist heat. And that's really what it is at times.
80 degrees, but it feels like 100.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about the Hunter Biden trial. The jury is done for the day. They've been deliberating the thing since the middle of the afternoon. They really barely got started when their day comes to an end. Look, that came at like, I don't know. I think at like 4:00 their time. They just call it quits. I mean, that's good work if you can get it. Go home at 4:00. That's not even a full day, but they did begin deliberations. And, listen, it depends on who you talk to here, but I mean, most of the legal analysts that I have some respect for seem to say that it's pretty much an open and shut case. If you simply go by the facts, a guilty verdict should be the thing that comes out. But as Jonathan Turley tells us, and this is a guy I have a great deal of respect for, he said, look, did they prove their case, the prosecution? Yeah. But we got to remember, this is a Biden jury in a Biden town.
Well, I think the most compelling argument that Lowell made to the jury was stating the last name of his client. I mean, this is Biden town. And I think if you look at the defense, this is just as clear as you can get for a jury nullification case. The defenses that Lowell put up in the opening argument collapsed within 48 hours. I mean, the prosecutors just made mincemeat out of these arguments. And there was a series of them, all of them implausible. But that's not the point. These are sort of placeholders, and they're hoping that the jury will nullify the evidence. I mean, they're not asking for the jury to question the evidence. They're asking them to ignore the evidence because there's ample evidence showing that he was doing drugs during this period in his own voice. But also you have a sizable Biden contingent in that courtroom reminding the jurors that this is Biden town. And I think the prosecutors are worried that no matter how strong their case, they might not be able to overcome that. This was an open and shut case, and this defendant put this court through this trial. And if he is convicted, some judges actually do not look kindly upon that. That if you put everyone through a trial on a case that seems strict liability, you check the box and it was false. Some of them may feel that you have to do a little time in jail, even if it's a brief stint. So I would not discount that possibility because of what he went through or put the court through by challenging overwhelming evidence of guilt.
Yeah, listen, it's going to be interesting to see whether this jury, they're going for jury nullification, which is basically they're hoping that one juror holds out, and that the jury comes back and says that he is not guilty. Just because they feel like he's been abused by this process. But the case has been proven. There is just no doubt about that. So we'll watch and see what happens. Again, they barely got started. They dismissed for the day. They'll come back tomorrow and begin. The judges said, listen, you can debate as long as you like or as little time as you like. Here's the charges. Go and come back. Now, if you got one member who holds out and says, no, I don't care how long we sit here, I'm not going to find him guilty. I'm just not. And that, they got some people that are like Biden donors on the jury. Really, I mean, honestly, could be someone who just feels like this is all political, and I'm just not going to convict the man. Well, then, but everybody else is saying, well, no, the evidence was pretty overwhelming. He's guilty, and it is overwhelming. Well, then what would happen is they'd probably send a note to the judge saying, hung jury. They'd be called back in. There's some legal language that they usually read in cases like this, but basically what it says in the language that they use is it's called a depth charge. I forget, they have another name for it, but they read this language and it tells the jury, nope, we think you can do it. Go back in there and give it your best shot. And then if they come back again, let's say a day later, and say, no, we're still hung up, then generally they call it a hung jury, and there will be no verdict, so a mistrial. So that's what Abby Lowell is hoping for. I read an interesting thing here I'd not heard before about the end of day 5 and how badly it went. Here we go. Listen to this. Day 5 of the trial ended early, abruptly, and disastrously for the defense. Hunter's eldest daughter, Naomi Biden, who testified in her crackhead father's defense, left the courtroom crying, and it left the Biden camp unusually quiet. Hunter's uncle and President Joe Biden's brother, James Jimmy Biden, was also supposed to take the stand on Friday in support of the first son, but the defense announced unexpectedly that was no longer happening, and without explaining the reason behind the last-minute cancellation. Abby Lowell had suggested that Hunter Biden might take the stand in his own defense, and then they decided today not to do that. So final arguments today, both sides. Jury has the case. The jury is done for the day. They will come back tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised to get a verdict tomorrow. But again, remember, this whole jury nullification thing is something to really think about it. Here's another angle on that from Fox News. Hunter Biden's defense team is in a historic criminal trial, likely banking on the hung jury, said one expert. Hunter Biden's defense team is likely banking on the jury deadlocking on a verdict in the first son's historic criminal gun trial, a legal expert told Fox News Digital. That's what Hunter Biden and his defense team are banking on in this case. Heritage Foundation senior legal fellow Zach Smith told Fox News Digital when asked if the trial could result in a hung jury or even acquittal. Legally speaking, it didn't really seem like Hunter has a defense to these charges. Particularly, some of the jurors might have had family or friends struggling with substance abuse, and there were some, and some have some sympathy for Hunter Biden and his substance abuse issues. Hunter Biden's trial began last Monday in a federal court in Wilmington, Delaware. He faces 3 felony firearm offenses regarding the 2018 purchase of a .38 pistol with a gun shop from a gun shop in the state. He has pleaded not guilty to those charges. But I got to tell you, I don't know what else you need to do to prove a case, quite frankly. It's pretty clear to me that the prosecutors, if you just look at the law, it's open and shut. They absolutely proved their point. Here's a story from Fox News again. Closing arguments begin in Hunter Biden federal trial after he declines to testify. I didn't think that they were going to testify. I thought it was interesting that one of the prosecutors said, hey, in their closing arguments, they said, you know what? Look at the law. Look at the evidence that we've given you. And I will tell. And then went on to say, and you know what? The people sitting on the front row here, all these Biden people, including the First Lady of the United States, that's not evidence. And that's a very important point to make. So the prosecutor told jurors that no one is above the law in the gun trial. And now it's in the hands of the jury. We'll see exactly what will happen here going forward. Now, as long as we're talking about Biden's trial, from time to time, people come to me and they ask me the question, what's going on with Joe Biden and the investigation that they were doing into Biden Incorporated? Well, we got an update on that this weekend. James Comer from the Oversight Committee in the House, a Republican from Kentucky, was on Maria Bartiromo's program and gave an update. And she was sort of, giving him a hard time. But where is the case? We haven't heard anything about the case. You kept telling us you had a good case. What's happening? And he said, we're not done. We're not done. Now, they have handed down some referrals with regard to Hunter Biden and James Biden and some others for some what they think are violations of law. They've handed over to the Justice Department. Yeah, the Biden Justice Department. You think they're going to go after those guys? No, not at all. But they do have sort of a lot of really, really condemning and convincing evidence that they violated laws. But what about Joe Biden? James Comer says, hold on, we're not done yet.
We're just beginning, and a lot of those crimes that the Bidens have committed, the statute of limitations has run out. That was one of the complaints that the IRS whistleblower said when we had them testify in our committee. But we're going to deal with those, and we're going to deal with Joe Biden. Remember, this is an investigation of Joe Biden. Hunter Biden, Jim Biden, Eric Sherwin, Devin Archer, these are all witnesses in an investigation of Joe Biden. This was always about Joe Biden. Now, we're going to do everything we can to hold Hunter Biden and all the different shady associates accountable. This is just the beginning, but the next step will be accountability for Joe Biden. I think everyone that's kept up with this investigation will be very eager to see what the next step is. This is the first step, these criminal referrals. Everything that we refer to the Department of Justice is within the statute of limitations. In fact, there's 5-year statute of limitations. So if Merrick Garland's Department of Justice doesn't take this up in an appropriate manner, then the next administration and a new attorney general certainly can. The investigation's already been done. And with these criminal referrals, we published a 60-page report of nothing but hard evidence that no one has made a comment disputing anything we provided in the evidence.
Okay, so these criminal referrals will stand for 5 years, beyond potentially
Yes.
Merrick Garland's time there and
Absolutely.
Biden's DOJ. Are you saying that we could expect a criminal referral against Joe Biden for money laundering? Is that what you just said?
I think that it's no secret Joe Biden's committed many crimes, and I think that you're going to see a report very soon. That report is imminent.
Well, how do you feel about that? I mean, he says it's imminent. Now, I mean, people keep asking me, what's going on? What's going on with it? We haven't heard anything. Is it dead? Did they not go? And I kept saying, I think they're waiting for the right time to drop it. But it sounds like to me what they rather than come out and talk about what they have week after week after week and then nothing happened, I think they decided to pull back and not talk about it until they were about ready to release the final report. So what they have done is they've made some criminal referrals with regard to Hunter Biden and Jim Biden and a whole bunch of other stuff. They've sent that over to the Justice Department, and they sent over a big old document load full of stuff that they say backs up everything that they say. Now, that puts pressure on the Justice Department to do something. But as he pointed out, the statute of limitations on the crimes that they have sent over is 5 years. So even if Trump wins, and we get a new attorney general under Trump, they could still pick up the case then. Now, if Trump doesn't win, then, Merrick Garland probably will not be rushing to bring these cases. That's why this is so important. We gotta have a good outcome here in this presidential race, because it's not just who's the president, it's who's the attorney general, who's in charge of all of these different agencies around town. So that's why we have to win. Absolutely. But that'll be interesting to see. And then he says, and stand by, because we're about to drop another bombshell on you with regard to what we have discovered with regard to the current president of the United States. He says that report is imminent, meaning any day. It is now 20 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk. Busy bee, when you need heat or cold AC. You know the number, 775-7833. They got some things going on in the month of June they want me to tell you about. Enter to win a free round of golf for Dad at Hermitage's Golf Course. You must sign up for a Beehive Club membership to win. If you need AC unit maintenance, you may as well sign up for the Beehive Club for only $99 a year. That includes a cooling, a heating, and plumbing maintenance, and then you can register Dad You got to get in by 15th. That's the end of this week. The winner will be announced on June 17th. And they've got some specials going on. HVAC, up to 12 months, no interest, no payment with approved credit. Plumbing, up to 15 months, no interest, no payment with approved credit. The HVAC, a new unit, get a free air duct fogging and UV light home treatment with purchase of a select new unit. Plumbing, $500 off the tankless water heater, $500 off an upright S&C water heater, 15% off the whole drain repipe system. Repair your AC, waive the $89 dispatch fee with repair work, 10% off all indoor air quality products. And for repair plumbing service, how about this? $99 to do a drain video inspection, $79 to have your water heater flushed. All these things are things you should be doing on a regular basis. Why not take advantage of it in the month of June when they've got these specials going on? Busy Bee, Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, your Rude Pro partner, heating and cooling, all their efforts to get satisfaction guaranteed, called Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling at 615-775-7833, online at busybehvac.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
The Hunter Biden trial has gone to the jury, but they've all gone home for the day. We'll have the latest. Chrysler recalling almost 250,000 vehicles, and your iPhone may soon be an AI phone. We'll have details coming up at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jay Harper. Glad to have you in the house today. 26 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk. Brian Wilson in the chair all the way till 7 o'clock before we hand it over to Mark Levin. Listen, the mayor, he's got this idea for a big transit referendum. He wants to do big things with regard to transportation in the city of Nashville. A couple of stories have been written about it. Here's one from the Tennessean. A plan to overhaul Nashville Transit and the sales tax bump to pay for it are nearing the final hurdles toward appearing on a voter's ballot in November. Mayor Freddie O'Connell's administration on Friday filed proposed ballot language for Metro Council's consideration. If the council approves the language of Choose How You Move Transit Improvement Plan, it must then be submitted to the Davidson County Election Commission by August 22nd. The Election Commission would then vote on whether to put the referendum on the November 5th countywide ballot. The language will appear before Metro Council for the first of 3 readings on June 18th. That's 8 days from now. Should the referendum make it on the ballot, voters will have the final say at the polls in November on whether to implement the plan, which would raise sales tax in Davidson County by 1/2 of 1 penny. To fund the construction of 86 miles of sidewalks, an improved 24/7, 365 bus transit system, 12 community transit centers, 12 park and ride facilities, 17 park and ride facilities, 600 upgraded smart traffic signals, and more. I don't know. Can I just stop for a moment? Let me go through that list again. 86 miles of sidewalk, an improved 24/7, 365 bus-based transit system, 12 community transit centers, 17 park and ride facilities, 600 upgraded smart traffic signals, and more. Does that seem like an awful lot for a 1/2 penny on the sales tax? Seems like that's more than 1/2 penny there. I don't know, but it seems to me like, is that going to cover the cost of everything he's talking about, or is it going to cost you more? And where's that money coming from? I mean, I don't know. Some people have said this thing is, they say, well, it's $3.2 million. News Channel 5 says it's $6.9 billion. Double that. Anyway, the state law allows a 250-word summary of the proposed tax surcharges and transit projects to appear on the ballot. The O'Connell administration summary clocks in at 187 words, highlighting the proposed program's growth of Nashville's sidewalk network, bus service expansion, safety and signal improvements that would impact all roadway users. Here's what I want to say about this. There's a lot in that. They're going to give you 187 words, and you got to make a decision on it. But I would ask anybody within the sound of my voice who has a vote in Davidson County to think really long and hard about this. What are they not telling you? Because it's only 187 words they're using to describe. You're going to make a decision based on 187 words. But it seems to me when you start talking about rapid bus transit, BART systems, bus rapid transit, aren't you talking about dedicated bus lanes? Yeah. And where are those bus lanes going to come from? They don't talk about a lot of new pavement being laid down. They're talking about dedicated bus routes and dedicated bus lanes. There's a lot of devil in the detail that they're not talking about. And one of the things that I think what I'm beginning to figure out here is they're talking about taking away the roads that you drive on and turning them into exclusively bus lanes. They're taking away the roads that you drive on and turning them into dedicated bus lanes, which means that we're going to have fewer roads in and out of the city and around the city. The buses will be running, but if you don't care to drive the bus or ride the bus, if it doesn't work for you because of your schedule or because of 1,000 other reasons that you may want to drive your car, understand this, it's going to be more difficult to get around town because they're taking roadway away from you. If I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. But I've been saying this for some time now, and nobody from the city has ever come to me and say, Brian, you have that wrong. No, The dedicated bus lanes are going to be taken away from other streets that you currently drive on. Do you understand that? See, that's not in the 187 words. Not even close. And do we really want our government to get involved in being land developers, community developers? Because that's what's in there too as well. A lot of stuff to ask. Time for the news now. We're a little bit late, 32 minutes past the hour.
Good evening. It is 5:32. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got a mostly sunny sky. We're down to 79 degrees. We'll have a traffic report and a complete weather forecast in just a few minutes. The jury in the Hunter Biden federal gun case, they're going to be back at it tomorrow as they have adjourned for the day. ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy has more on the case.
The jury got the case late in the afternoon, and jurors were dismissed after just an hour of deliberations. Hunter Biden's defense team argued prosecutors offered just conjecture and suspicion to try to prove their case that Biden knew he was a drug user and a drug addict when he signed a gun background check form insisting that he wasn't. Prosecutors argued it would be preposterous to think that a Yale-educated lawyer didn't know what he was doing when he signed the form to buy the revolver.
Chrysler recalling more than 211,000 SUVs and pickup trucks because of a software malfunction that can affect the vehicle's stability. ABC's Daria Albinger explains why.
The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says the defect in the anti-lock braking module on certain 2022 Dodge Durango, Ram 2500, and Ram 3500s would cause stability control to fail, increasing the risk of a crash. Chrysler, which is owned by Stellantis, says dealers and owners will be notified by mail. Dealers will update the module software free of charge.
Apple, the next big company to go full throttle into utilizing artificial intelligence. It was announced earlier today. Here's Alex Stone.
Complete with the music, the reveal was like something out of a sci-fi movie, but Apple is actually late to the AI ballgame. Now jumping in, AI will be part of iPhones, iPads, and Macs. It'll make Siri smarter and more useful, can do things like rewrite an email or create images out of nothing but a description. Apple announcing at its developers conference,
"We are embarking on a new journey to bring you intelligence that understands you."
Apple saying with AI, an iPhone will know its user.
Okay, that's the latest news. We've got traffic and weather on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
A question from the folks at Beacon Capital Management. Are your retirement assets structured to minimize taxes? Now, you got to think about taxes in retirement. Hard to believe, but many hardworking Americans just like you could be overpaying on taxes in retirement. You may be taxed on your IRA, your 401k, any other tax-deferred retirement account. Beacon Capital Management is here to give you peace of mind. With the threat of massive tax increases just around the corner, your nest egg could be in trouble unless you take advantage of defensive tax savings strategies and take advantage of them now. Defend your hard-earned retirement savings by scheduling a free retirement tax reduction analysis today. No cost, no pressure, no obligation. If you've saved more than $250,000 for retirement, don't wait a moment longer. Schedule your free retirement tax reduction analysis at Beacon. Just call this number. I'm going to give it to you twice. 615-488-9303. Again, 615-488-9303, or visit askbeaconnow.com. It is 39 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy. Glad you're with us. Time to head to our election report 2024 because, you know, we got a lot of stuff to cover. I mean, a lot of stuff sort of came across our transom here in the election 24 news desk during the weekend. We don't really have a news desk. We don't really have a transom either. But I've got a lot of stuff to cover. Boy, there was a piece that has gotten a lot of attention by those on the left side of the equation, written by a guy named Mark Leibovich. Now, that name may not mean much to you, but I've encountered this dude. He's a savage writer. He's got a really, really acid pen, and he writes for left-leaning publications. Very left-leaning writer, and he writes in the Atlantic. A piece that really has gotten the Democrats talking a lot. Let me read into it. On this, I'm going to tell you first of all, I refuse to pay the Atlantic 1 penny to read their crap. So I look at stories about the story that have been written by other publications. That's the way I get at it because I'm just not going to give them a nickel of my money for sure. On Friday, Leibovich's piece compared Biden to the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, with a headline claiming no matter the obstacles that Donald Trump creates for himself, Joe Biden's candidacy remains an existentially risky, perhaps disastrous proposition. The author claimed that Trump's multiple criminal indictments and recent conviction in a Manhattan courtroom on 34 counts of falsifying business records, besides that, Biden remains a comprehensively weak incumbent this November. At 81, He is much too old to run for president. Durable supermajorities of voters still do not want any part of Biden at this age, Leibovich wrote. His bullheaded insistence on doing something no one has ever done, Ronald Reagan, then the oldest president, was 77 when he retired, along with the unwillingness to or an inability of Democrats to stop him, remains an existentially risky, potentially disastrous proposition. The stakes remain appallingly high. If Biden loses in November, that's all anyone will remember him for. Leibovich then cited data showing Biden tied or trailing the presumptive Republican nominee for the last few months. He added that Biden has shown he is incapable of reversing his deficits in the most contested states. According to Real Clear Politics, Trump holds small but a consistent lead over Biden nationally and also leads the president in nearly every major swing state race. Real Clear Politics polling averages show that Trump's lead is small. The former president has maintained a consistent lead over Biden for the last year. In battleground states, the number is, on average, 3.2. That's right. Trump leads Biden by 3.2 points. The Atlantic staff writer pointed toward an NPR PBS NewsHour Marist poll last month that showed Trump had a 2-point lead, but it expands to 4 points when other third-party candidates are included. In its ongoing effort to console nervous Democrats, Biden world keeps trotting out its usual barrage of "don't worry." Voters haven't really tuned in yet, and there's still plenty of time left. It's now June, Leibovich wrote. Is this reassurance or wishful thinking? Does Biden team have any coherent message about what he hopes to accomplish in a second term, a part of thwarting Trump from staying alive? Leibovich took aim at Biden by comparing him to the late Justice Ginsburg, adding that her legacy was stained by her unwillingness to retire while Barack Obama was still president. Ginsburg's death, if you remember, at 87, occurred in the final months of the Trump White House and allowed him to appoint her successor, Amy Coney Barrett. Leibovich told readers that Biden's conduct is far worse than Ginsburg, in fact, given the awesome power of the presidency and the havoc that Trump could unleash with it at this time. He concluded Biden continues to submit that the main rationale for his presidency is a high-stakes game of keep away. And Leibovich writes, and these are his words, there's no question he's better than the alternative, but that doesn't mean it's enough. See, now, Leibovich is writing, we are listening to a conversation that Democrats are having among themselves. And Leibovich, in his very acid pen, is making a pretty valid point for Democrats, and yet nothing that we're seeing on the Democrat side says that he's going to step down. Now, listen, I think that's great. Don't get me wrong. That's what I think is the best outcome, that he stays in all the way to Election Day, and let's see where the chips fall. I think that Trump will wipe the place up with him. I think what we saw in Europe is a harbinger of what we're going to see in America. A major shift to the right. Because Democrats always overplay their hands, but I like I say, that's what I would love to see happen. I want them to keep Biden. I just don't believe they're that stupid. Maybe they are. Maybe they really are that stupid, but I don't think they're that stupid. And I keep thinking, when is the other shoe going to drop? So here's where I think it is. I think they're going to give Biden one debate. Remember, there's one debate that happens on the 27th of this month. And there's another one that happens a lot closer to Election Day. I think that was done I think that those dates were chosen by the Democrats for a good reason. They're going to give Biden one. And if he rallies, and it's the turning point in the campaign for the Democrats, then they'll stick with him. But if he flops, and believe me, have you seen him on the stage over there in France? Oh my gosh, it's embarrassing. He's like a little lost puppy all the time. It looks bad. See, and here's the thing. They can juice him up for a big thing on like State of the Union. They can juice him up, whatever they give him, whatever cocktail of drugs. You know, give him a 5-hour energy drink and a couple of Red Bulls and, maybe a B12 shot. And, they can give him an extra hour of sleep, and, they'll really jack him up. And he'll go in there and he can read the teleprompter he's good for about an hour. But that's reading the teleprompter. Every time he speaks off the cuff, the White House has to spend a whole day undoing the messes that he makes, because he says things that are wrong. He says things that are stupid. He says things that are incorrect. And all of the news media are going to be ready to pounce on that, believe me. So I don't think he's going to do real well. He may be alert, because they'll have him jacked up on whatever cocktail of things they're giving him. I don't know what it is, but I mean, I tell you what, I'd like to have some of that someday. I mean, whatever it is they give him, give me a dose of that. On a day when I'm tired, I'd love to have that. I got to find out what that stuff is. But one way or the other, I don't think he's going to. It doesn't mean that he's going to be right. He's not going to be sharp. He's not going to be able to do it on the fly, I don't think. So then what happens? Let's say he flops miserably, or after the first debate, there's no change. I think that they will go to him and they'll say, "Okay, Joe, it's over. Nice run, appreciate you. Got to get somebody else in there, but it'll have to come from him, because he already has the delegates he needs to become the nominee. And the only way that they can make a shift is if he says, look, I've thought about it a lot, and I want to make sure that that we win, and it's clear to me that, I may not have what it takes to see it all the way through. And that's the only way it'll work. And then they can go into the convention and pick somebody else. That's my thinking. I don't know. That's the way it feels to me. Some CBS numbers that came out, which are pretty interesting, which I want to spend a moment or two talking about. I've been looking to try to find something that indicates that the 34 convictions have had an impact. CBS News was asking the right questions to try to get an answer to that. They came out with a poll this weekend. Trump convictions, how much of that is a factor in your vote? And this is asked of all likely voters that they talked to. 28% said it was a major factor. Now, is that mean that it's a major factor that energized people to vote for Trump, or a major factor that caused a lot of people to say they're not going to vote? I don't know what that number means a whole lot. It could be split between those two different parties. 17% said it was a minor factor, but again, does that mean that 17% said, yeah, it sort of makes me want to more vote for him? Or is it 17% who say, no, it sort of makes me not want to vote for him now, but it's not a big deal? But overwhelmingly, the big number in this poll for that question is 55% said it was no factor whatsoever. Here we go again. Guilty verdict and your vote for Trump. Ask of likely Trump voters. 14% said that they would vote for him to show support after the conviction. 15% said it was despite his conviction, and 71% said the conviction is no factor whatsoever. Now, if you ask Democrats why they are supporting Biden, the overwhelming answer is 54% say, because I don't like Trump. 27%, and that's an appallingly low number, say the reason I voted for Biden is that I like Biden. And then you got 19%, about 20%, about 1 in 5 voters on the Democrat side of the equation say, I'm going to vote for him because he's the Democrat nominee and I vote for Democrats. Isn't that interesting? But the main reason that the people vote for Biden is because they don't like Trump. Choice for president, if you see the decision as mainly comparing Biden and Trump, Democrats said 47%. Republicans said 53%. A judgment about Biden, 66% of Republicans said that they felt that was the case. 34% of Democrats. Isn't that interesting? So, I mean, the bottom line here is on all these numbers is that the conviction does not seem to have had any. I think it's a complete wash. I think I think, honestly, I'm going to give you my honest opinion here. I think that people have sort of made up their mind early. This is different than other presidential elections, is that we know both of these people pretty well. We know Donald Trump and we know Joe Biden. There's not a lot of mystery about these two individuals. So my feeling is that a lot of this is locked and not likely to change too much. There are a small number of people who will wake up on, the day before the election and say, holy crap, tomorrow's election day. Oh my gosh, who am I going to vote for? I mean, I wake up like, oh my gosh, I didn't think about this until now. There are those people out there. And it's hard to know how they're going to vote because they don't make a decision until the day before. And that doesn't get picked up in the polling. But I think for a vast majority of voters, they've made up their mind. And I don't think these numbers are going to change a whole lot. It's going to be close with an edge to Trump. 52 now past the hour. As much as you'd like it to be the case, there are no pills or magic creams that can magically open up your spinal disc and take pressure off of your nerves. No, if you have back pain, it's because there is pressure on your nerves. Now, to get rid of that back pain, you really only have a couple of choices. Number one, you can undergo surgery. You can undergo, the knife. Or you can try, as I have, non-invasive spinal decompression. See, I chose non-surgical spinal decompression at the Wellness Institute of Nashville because they have a state-of-the-art facility and the very latest in high-tech equipment that offers the latest non-surgical procedures. Now, because getting better is so important, Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley are offering half off the spinal decompression treatment and half off the KT knee machine. And if you're a new patient, listen to this. This is a good deal here. If you're a new patient, your exam, your consultation, and your first treatment will only cost you $23. And you got that on you. What a deal that is. I'm Brian Wilson, and I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Call them today at 615-246-5009 or learn more at painisbad.com.
The United Nations approving a Gaza ceasefire proposal, but what effect will that really have on negotiations? The Hunter Biden gun trial jury got the case today, but deliberations will have to continue tomorrow, and a Middle Tennessee area parts manufacturer announces its closure. And yes, that will mean job loss. Those stories coming up at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good evening. It's 2 minutes past 6 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Partly sunny, 78 degrees on Music Row, the latest traffic report, and a complete weather forecast up in just a few minutes. The U.S. secured a victory at the United Nations, winning support for a proposal that could end the conflict in Gaza. But what does it really mean for the ongoing negotiations? Here's ABC's Shannon Crawford.
The United Nations Security Council has voted to pass a U.S.-drafted resolution supporting a ceasefire proposal aimed at ending 8 months of brutal fighting in Gaza. The Biden administration's ambassador to the body saying only Hamas is standing in the way of the deal and promising the U.S. will make sure Israel upholds its obligations. Hamas issued a statement welcoming the outcome of the vote, but the militant group still hasn't issued an official response to the proposal.
Back here in the U.S., the jury in the Hunter Biden federal gun case got the case late today, and jurors were dismissed about an hour after they started deliberating. They're set to be back at it tomorrow. President Biden's son is accused of illegally buying a gun while being addicted to drugs. If convicted on all 3 counts, Biden could face up to 25 years in prison. Here's ABC's Brian Buckmeyer with more.
There's a possibility that he could serve time. Very unlikely, almost not likely at all. I would say that he's going to serve anything close to 25 years. Federal sentencing guidelines would suggest that someone with no criminal record and with his background. And when we look at these charges, and we're saying 25 because 2 of the charges have maximum sentence of 10 and 1 of 5, but none of them have a minimum. So he could do no jail time.
Back here in Middle Tennessee, a Middle Tennessee auto parts manufacturer will permanently close next year, laying off nearly 100 employees. Tachi S. Automotive Seating USA is located in Mount Juliet, and they have filed an official notice with the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development, notifying the agency of a permanent closure. According to the notice, employment separations will begin this year on September 15th and end on or around March of next year. The total number of affected employees is 90 workers. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather. They are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Good evening, everybody. It's 8 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson, and I'm your friend and radio buddy all the way till 7 o'clock. I'll still be your friend and radio buddy after 7 o'clock, but at 7 o'clock, I'm going to go have dinner. And you guys are going to have the treat of listening to Mark Levin. He'll be all the way through the evening. He'll carry on for hours, as he often does. Thank you so much for being a part of what we do here each day. As you know, for the past few days on this program, since the middle of last week, we've been breaking some stories with regard to the Covenant attack and the Covenant shooting that occurred on the 27th of March, 2023. 6 people died, 3 9-year-olds, 3 adults. And a lot of documents have fallen into the lap of the Tennessee Star. A few of these documents have landed in my lap as well, and I've been going through some of them. The first thing that I have is basically a transcript of the interview that the police did with Audrey Hale's parents some 4 months after the shooting. Now, what's interesting about that particular document is, in some cases, they're trying to get some information from the parents to fill in the gaps of knowledge that they have. And in other cases, they are informing the parents about things that they found in the many writings. There were some 20 journals, 2 found in the car, a great number of them found in her bedroom at the parents' house where she lived at the age of 28. And so because of the questions they're asking and the information that they are providing, it's a unique window to where the investigation was at that particular time. So we have read from you from the transcripts. We have published the transcripts. We also have the audio recording of that particular session. And we have played some of that. We'll play a little bit more here in a minute. Now comes word that Fox 17 has a couple of pages of one of the diaries, and their particular page, it talks about her transition and her transgender journey, whatever you want to call it, from being a biological female to identifying as a man. I have 2 pages that describe what this story is about from the Tennessee Star. Audrey Hale wrote multiple entries in a journal recovered from her vehicle that suggested that at one point her attack on the Covenant School should occur in January of 2023. The date, January 17th, 2023. That was the day that she had originally wanted to carry out the attack. And for some reason, she did not. And this is verified in the 2 pages that I have. I'm looking at them now. She initially, on the page in this particular diary, wrote to a couple of her people that she sort of obsessed about. One of them was Sydney, a girl by the name of Sydney, who tragically died in a car accident sometime before the shooting. And she said, I can't wait to see you again, Sid. I'll see you at the Golden Gates. And that entry was dated 1/16 of 23. And it appeared that she had planned to carry out the attack the next day. She didn't. And here's another note she wrote to a girl that she was obsessed about by the name of Paige. And here's how it goes. Paige, I'm going to kill people tomorrow. When she didn't do it on the 17th, she scratched out tomorrow and then added in parentheses, someday. Please don't be mad. I'm going to do some bad things tomorrow. Again, tomorrow is marked out, and then she put in parentheses, sometimes. It's too sad to even think what you might feel. I'm so sorry. I love you. Signed Aiden, which was the name that she used when she identified as a male. This is troubling stuff when you read it. As I said, she had an obsession about these 2 particular individuals and brown, what she called brown and black-skinned people. She was very obsessed with them. In fact, in this entry, she writes, brown girls have the nicest skin, especially yours. And there she was writing to the late Sydney. To touch it, I'd rather die. And then there are these entries that are big, bold letters. Usually there are squares or they are contained within a box or something. And it says, and it's this seems to be when she is writing as Aiden, because Aiden's thoughts seem to be a lot darker. I mean, on one side of the page, she's talking as Audrey. On the other side of the page, she's talking as Aiden. But when she writes as Aiden, it's very bold and very dark. For example, here inside sort of brackets is the phrase, "I hate my thoughts." On the other page, in a big box, "I just have to die." So why was it that her parents never picked up on any of this? Her mother spoke about that to detectives 4 months after the shooting.
It seemed like when she graduated college, she was happy. You know, this is the thing, you know, that people are so upset about. That the Audrey that everybody knew, you know, was not the Audrey on March 27th.
Well, and she apparently, because of her autism, had some ability expressing herself with words. And she apparently, her mother said, for example, when she got a phone and I started getting text messages from her, I was really struck by the fact that she seemed to be more, expressive in the written word than she was in just talking to us. And many people are wondering why was her fixation on Covenant? By all accounts, she had a very good experience at Covenant. Her parents didn't pick up on anything that had happened that was bad.
Did she speak about her experience? I know she was very, very young in elementary school. Did she speak about her experience at Covenant School at all?
Sure.
Did it appear to be a positive experience?
It's a very positive thing.
Well, because I spoke with a lot of the staff there, and even them were like, we had nothing but positive experiences with Audrey. So I was wondering if she expressed the same thing or not, if she ever expressed anything different that would suggest anything sideways.
You know, the motto of the school, the first head of school, the motto was for the children, you can't say, you can't play. Nobody gets shut out. And I mean, that's the way the place was.
Oh, well, that's nice. Did she end up leaving there before, or she went the duration of how long?
She went from kindergarten through the fourth grade.
Oh, okay.
And then we decided to go with Metro Nashville Public Schools, and they start middle school in fifth grade. So Covenant goes through the sixth grade, but we stayed there through the fourth grade.
Oh, okay, cool.
She was in the charter class.
In the charter class for 4 years. And apparently nobody at the school had any idea that there had been any conflict, anything that had happened to Audrey Aiden while she was at the Covenant School. So it doesn't really make any sense why she chose Covenant. Again, she was apparently going to start the attack on the 17th of January and then rescheduled for 3, 27, and 23. She planned it for some time. As the detective said, there was planning upon planning upon planning. As I mentioned, Fox 17 has now published 2 pages from the shooter's writings in these journals. The 2 pages Fox 17 News received from the Tennessee Star include ramblings and thoughts from January and February of 2023, weeks before the devastating shooting at the Covenant School. A source familiar with the investigation tells Fox 17 News the shooter wrote about the fantasies of school shootings. On one page of the writing sent to us by the Tennessee Star, Audrey Hale talks about gender identity, stating, "A terrible feeling to know that I am nothing of the gender I was born of. I am the most unhappy boy alive." Hale goes on to say, "I will be no use of love for any girl." Of the 2 pages of the writing sent to them by the Tennessee Star, Hale says, "I think of death a lot because I think of you." Hale then goes on to talk about the sadness of leaving everything she loved behind, including family members. Again, these are just 2 of what attorneys for Metro say are hundreds of documents related to the shooting. Metro police say they are concerned about the possible leak and would like to know how the pages got released. And then this, from the Tennessee Star, I believe it was released today, earlier today. They have the suicide note left by Covenant school killer Audrey Hale. laying out exactly what she wanted to do with the things that she left behind. Addressed to her parents and her brother Scott, it's a 2-paragraph note. If I don't survive the massacre, I want my room to be left exactly as it is left. She instructed her mother and father, I don't want any of my possessions down in that dingy basement. In capital letters, Hale continued, please read my will, where she explained her parents would find the instructions about what to do with her stuffed animals and possessions. She was really focused on these stuffed animals. She would play out different scenarios utilizing them. In fact, she carried some in her car to the attack. I'm worried what you and Scott will have to go through, wrote Hale. I'm sorry, but it's my time to go. And she signed off as Aiden, not Audrey. Her mother once asked her, would you prefer that I call you Aiden? And her response was, no, Mama, I want you to call me Audrey, which I thought was interesting because she talked about how she wanted desperately to be a boy, and she had gone to her parents to ask them about going through a surgery and wanted to know if she could use their insurance. They told her, no, you're 25, you can't do that. I'm telling you, the end thing that I'm left with all of this is this stuff is dark, and a lot of it doesn't make any sense. A lot of it doesn't make any sense. And the remaining question for me, and I think for the investigators, is, did anybody, she was seeing so many different therapists over the course of some 22 years, did anybody have any idea of what she was thinking? And if she told them, did they report it to the police? And if they did report it to police, what did the police do about it? But it seems like she would present as one person, but in these journals, very clear she was another very dark individual. 21 past the hour now. You know, as much as you'd like it to be the case, there really are no pills or spinal creams, nothing that magically opens up your spinal disc to take the pressure off your nerves. No, back pain is caused by pressure on nerves. It's just that simple. And you have two choices. You can undergo surgery, or you can try another thing, non-invasive spinal decompression. Now, for me, I chose the non-surgical spinal decompression route at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. I'm telling you, it worked for me. Had pain in my neck, had pain in my lower back. They have this state-of-the-art facility there in Mount Juliet, high-tech equipment that offers the latest non-surgical procedures. Because getting better is so important to Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley, they are offering half off the spinal decompression treatment and half off the KT knee machine, which is sort of like spinal decompression, but it's for the knee. It gently elongates the knee and allows the healing therapy to get deep within that joint. Now, if you're a new patient, what a deal we have for you. Your exam, your consultation, your first treatment, only $23. I'm Brian Wilson, and I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. So call them today, 615-246-5009. Again, 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California
Guaranteed
Closet
Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Metro Nashville police searching for a road rage shooter that left a teenager injured. We'll have the latest on that, and we'll also have today's closing money news. That's coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
26 past the hour of 6 o'clock. You getting home okay? Everything all right? Yeah, it's a beautiful evening. We still got 79 degrees outside, and that's still some sunshine out there. So take advantage of these long days. We're about to hit the longest day of the year. When we hit June, I forget what first day, whatever the first day of summer is, that's the longest day of the year. So the days are about as long as they're going to get. For the next few days, take advantage of all the abundant sunshine we have. Pull some weeds or something. Your yard, it's a disaster. Anybody talk to you about it? People are looking at mine, so I've got no room to talk. Elephants. I am fascinated by this story. Elephants apparently talk to one another using a language, and they call each other by name. Who knew this? Parrots do this and dolphins do this, but who knew it was elephants? Elephants call out to each other using individual names they invent for their fellow pachyderms, according to a new study. For the new study published on Monday, that's today, a team of international researchers used an artificial intelligence algorithm to analyze the calls of two wild herds of African savanna elephants in Kenya. The research not only shows that elephants use specific vocalizations for each individual, but that they recognize and react to a call addressed to them while ignoring those addressed to others. Isn't that interesting? This indicates the elephants can determine whether a call was intended for them just by hearing the call, even when it's out of context. The behavioral ecologist at Colorado State University said in a statement, the researchers sift through elephant rumbles recorded in Kenya's Samburu National Reserve and Amboseli National Park between 86 and 2022. Using a machine learning algorithm, they identified 469 distinct calls, which included 101 elephants issuing a call and 117 elephants receiving one. Turns out, elephants make a wide range of sounds, from loud trumpeting to rumbles so low they can't be heard by the human ear. Names were not always used in elephant calls, but when names were called out, it was often over a long distance when adults were addressing young elephants. Adults were also more likely to use name than calves, suggesting it takes years to learn this particular talent. The most common call was a, quote, harmonically rich low-frequency sound, according to the study in the Nature, Ecology, and Evolution Journal. This is the best part right here. Listen to this. When researchers played a recording to an elephant of their friend or family member calling out their name, the animal responded positively and energetically. But the same elephant was sort of, nonplussed, less enthusiastic when played the names of others. That's pretty fascinating. I've heard that, the low frequency sounds, you can't hear them. They actually have to speed up the recordings so that you can hear what it is. It's a very low rumble. And by the way, that's the same thing that whales do in the ocean. Very low frequencies that travel over great distances underwater, and the low frequencies travel over great distances in the air as well. And apparently the elephants can hear them. Despite our differences, humans and elephants share many similarities, such as an extended family units with rich social lives underpinned by highly developed brains. The elephants' use name for one another is likely only the start of revelations to come. I think one of the things that I think we're going to see, we read all this stuff about, artificial intelligence being used in this and artificial intelligence being used in that. And, I'm a little wary of artificial intelligence as a whole, but apparently some of this artificial intelligence can do analyses that a human simply would take forever to do. And I think just as we have gone through different periods where new technology has brought great understanding, let's say, for example, of the human brain. When we first were able to map the human brain and watch it in real time, we started getting all of these breakthroughs. That was a new technology breakthrough. AI's ability to take a lot of data and to aggregate it and to see patterns that we as humans can never see. That's a powerful tool for scientists. And I think AI is going to be leading us, when it's properly guided by humans, to some amazing scientific discussions like this one. Who knew? Elephants have names. 31 minutes now past the hour.
Good evening. It is 6:31. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Still mostly sunny. We're down to 76 degrees. We'll get a full forecast and another traffic report to you here in just a bit. Metro Police, they're on the search for the person who shot an 18-year-old in the mouth during a likely road rage shooting along Murfreesboro Road in Antioch this past Saturday night. At about 5:30 Saturday evening, after multiple bullets shattered the windshield of a red Camaro, the 18-year-old driver then lost control of the car and crashed into a Toyota SUV. That driver, a young man actually, had to be rushed to Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Fortunately, he has non-life-threatening injuries. Witnesses said the bullets came from a white Lexus sedan that sped off heading north on Murfreesboro Road. The gunman's car also is reportedly missing its back bumper. Here's the closing money news on this Monday from Daria Albinger.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. Stocks rose ahead of a busy week. The Dow closed up 69 points, the Nasdaq added 59, and the S&P gained 14, closing at a record high. All eyes are on the Federal Reserve this week. The decision its Open Markets Committee makes could set the tone for the rest of the year. Some experts think they could adjourn the statement, saying that they're seeing meaningful progress on inflation so far this year, and that could mean rate cuts could be coming. Then again, the central bank could do nothing and might leave rates right where they are. We also expect a number of top-tier companies to report their latest earnings in the coming days, including Oracle, Broadcom, and Adobe. Activist shareholder Elliott Investment Management is taking a nearly $2 billion stake in Southwest Airlines. It says the carrier is failing to keep up with other airlines and suffers from outdated technology and operations. The group wants to fire the CEO, Robert Jordan.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather, they're next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Let me tell you about the folks over at Restoration Wellness and Med Spa. Listen, I'll tell you what, if it's getting close to summer, the first day of summer is just around the corner. We got warm temperatures this week. You know, you're going to be wanting to wear your shorts. You're going to want to be going to the beach. You're going to be wanting to go to the pool. And when you do all that, you want to look good, right? Well, let the team at Restoration Wellness help you achieve your summer goals. Restoration Wellness is a leader in weight loss management in Wilson County, located in Lebanon. Summer is right around the corner, as I mentioned. Call the Restoration Wellness team today at 615-470-8124 or visit them at their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com, to book a consultation today. Now, my friends Carly and Jamie will take great care of you. They're going to treat you like you're part of the family. They're just such lovely, nice people, and they'll take a great interest in you. By the way, they will customize the treatment plans for you. This is not a one-size-fits-all approach. Restoration Wellness will consider your unique needs, your lifestyle, and your goals. Weight loss can increase your energy levels, improve your quality of sleep, and enhance your overall health. Restoration Wellness will consider all of that with you, and they will consider you need to think about your goal. If it's to lose stubborn body fat or improve your overall health, Restoration Wellness has a solution for you. I can tell you it's working for me, and I can tell you it's working for Cabana Wife. And will it work for you? Listen, I think it will. Why don't you give them a call? 615-470-8124. The newest technology in weight loss management. Learn more at restorationwellnessmedspa.com. It's 39 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm with you all the way up till 7 o'clock. And then Mark Levin will take over. He's the great one. You don't get a name like that unless you're great. Yeah, but he'll be here. So hang around. You'll get some good stuff from him. It seems like, they want to continue to muck around with our light bulbs. Remember when they outlawed the incandescent bulb, and they decided that we're going to get rid of the incandescent bulb, and you're going to have to go to these LEDs. And there for a while, the LEDs, I hated them. I didn't like the color of the light. I thought it was harsh. I thought it was just not as pleasing to me as the sort of softer, warmer light that came from an incandescent bulb. But I think, listen, over time, I think that they figured some things out. And they sort of got the incandescent bulbs where they were, different color temperatures, and they were working. Now they're going to mess with them again. Here's from our friend Susan Faricio over at the Washington Times. The Biden administration, which banned the incandescent light bulb last year, is going after LED bulbs, demanding a significant leap in energy efficiency that will nearly double the price of the bulbs and eliminate lighting choices for consumers. I hate this. Half of U.S. households use LED or light-emitting diode bulbs. The number of households relying on LED lighting is set to increase now that the Biden administration has banned incandescent bulbs and is phasing out the pigtailed compact fluorescent light bulbs that cost less than LEDs but contain mercury. The Department of Energy is not done wringing out as much energy savings as it can out of the remaining light bulbs left on the market and has set new standards that industry experts say will be tough to meet. And when it's tough to meet, guess what? They're more expensive. The department announced recently that beginning in July of 2028, LED bulbs would have to nearly triple the lumens they must achieve per watt from the current 45 lumens to that's 120 lumens per watt. Officials at DOE said the move will save energy and reduce the nation's carbon emissions, which, of course, as you know, is a top priority for the President Biden. The DOE calculates that over 30 years, the more stringent LED standards will save Americans $27 billion on utility bills and slash 70 million metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions, which is the equivalent of the combined annual emissions of more than 9 million homes. Well, I guess that, the same says all that, but I have a question. What kind of light comes out of these light bulbs? Are we going to, is it going to be something that's pleasing to the eye, or is it going to be harsh? Critics say the LED squeeze is another of Mr. Biden's move to overregulate home appliances, which have already cut energy use sharply over the past 2-year decades under the orders of the federal government. The Biden administration has ramped up regulating appliances further as it works to meet the president's goal of achieving a net zero emissions economy by 2050. Look, here's what I would say. Every time the Democrats muck around with one of our things that we use in our homes, it usually turns out worse, doesn't it? I mean, they decided, for example, that they were going to make the toilets more water efficient. And what you came up with something called the low flow toilet. I don't know how efficient they are because, every low flow toilet I've ever had, you got to flush twice. They just don't get the job done. And I don't like them. Do you? Then they decided, well, we're using too much water. Americans are using too much water in the shower. So they came up with these low flow shower heads. Now that is the worst of all. I mean, they're horrible. They're just horrible. And you have to jump around in the shower to get wet. There's not enough water coming out of the shower head to do a good job. I mean, remember those days when you could step into a hot, powerful stream of water and it just, that's what a shower is supposed to be. Hot, plenty of water, steamy. You felt like you really got clean. But no, you're not allowed to do that anymore. Then they decided they're going to go work on your dishwasher. We're using too much energy and we're using too much water in America's dishwashers. And so they worked on that for a while. And now you get dirty dishes when they just don't get, you might as well just not even use your dishwasher. I was talking about this with Cabana Wife just the other night. Because when it's my turn to wash the dishes and put them in she said, make sure you rinse them off good. I said, well, that's the job of the dishwasher. But as you know, the dishwasher doesn't really do the job it used to do because now they use less water and less energy. Washing machines, hot water heaters, you name it, they're going to be messing around. Stoves, your gas stove, man, regardless of what they tell you, your gas stove is history. Sooner or later, they're going to shut them down. Gas appliances, like a hot water heater that's run with gas, they want to shut those down. I'm glad I just got a brand new one. I'm good for probably another good 20 years. I just hate it. When government gets involved and businesses are no longer allowed to listen to the needs of the customer, but now have to look at the regulations handed down by government. We lose out. Oh, it seems like every time. Remember that pier that they built off the coast of Gaza? It's I forget how it's $22 million, I think it was, to build this pier. They wanted to be able to bring in a lot of humanitarian aid to Gaza without having to go through the gates. The United Nations World Food Program said Sunday it was suspending aid deliveries to Biden's administration floating pier in Gaza. The World Food Program cited safety concerns on the ground in Gaza as the reason it was halting deliveries from the pier. The pier had only been operational for roughly 2 days before the WFP announced its decision after weather damage broke it apart and temporarily took it out of commission. Right now, we're paused, says Cindy McCain, director of the WFP, talking to CBS News. I'm concerned about the safety of our people after the incident yesterday. We also, 2 of our warehouses, the warehouse complex, were rocketed yesterday. So they've stepped back. So you had a pier that didn't stay moored in its place, had a bunch of ships that were hooked up to it and delivering goods, and it broke loose in rough seas, and it was damaged heavily, almost sank, it looked like. And then somehow they were able to put it back together, and then for 2 days it operated, and then all of a sudden, the people who were bringing the food to the pier said, we're not going to use it anymore. We don't feel like it's safe. The pier has been plagued with problems since it was constructed in May by the U.S. military, writes the Daily Caller. A stint of bad weather, choppy seas broke the pier apart, rendered it non-operational in late May, forcing aid deliveries through the channel to halt while repairs were conducted. They spent millions on this. And it just, again, doesn't seem to be working all that great. 4 Army vessels supporting the pier were also unmoored during the storm, with 2 ending up on the shores of Gaza and 2 others floating north and beaching in Israel. The USAID, which has been working closely with the World Food folks in aid distribution, told the AP in a statement on Sunday it was coordinating with U.S. officials and other humanitarian groups in Gaza to ensure that aid can safely and effectively resume movement following completion of the security review. Let's see. We were talking about regulations a moment ago. I meant to tell you this story as well. This is a good story. This is interesting. When the Biden administration can't do the things that it wants to do, it issues executive orders, or it tries to do it through regulations, which don't have the power of law, but actually they do, because of something known as the Chevron opinion, something handed down by the Supreme Court years ago. But now there's the possibility the Supreme Court is going to be taking away some of the power that regulatory agencies have under the Chevron doctrine. The Supreme Court will soon issue a ruling that could reshape the balance of power between federal agencies and the judiciary, giving small litigants due process leverage, and will disrupt Joe Biden's progressive regulatory agenda. The 40-year-old precedent known as the Chevron doctrine tells courts to defer to federal agencies' reasonable interpretation of ambiguous statutes, which many business and industry groups say has left to stifling regulations. In other words, if you don't like a particular regulation, the regulators will come out and say, we don't like this law. We think this law is ambiguous. So here is our guidance on how these regulations should be imposed and what they should say. And it has the weight of law because of the Chevron doctrine, because the Supreme Court said 40 years ago, or nearly 40 years ago, that you should give great deference to whatever the regulatory agencies say and their interpretation of Congress's laws. It's a mess. But could the Chevron doctrine be going away? I think so. I think you've got a 6-3 conservative court who feel like regulators have become too powerful and have usurped the authority that's given in the writing of laws by Congress. Congress writes the law, and then regulators come and say, well, this is ambiguous, and we're going to have to make some changes here to help us everybody understand it. So they tell you how these laws should be interpreted. Maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe we'll get lucky. 50 minutes now past the hour. Let me tell you, if I could, about the folks over at Genesis Diamonds. Don't let rising costs and high interest rates bum you out. Genesis Diamonds is rolling it all back with zero interest financing and even better value pricing. Right now, only at Genesis, get zero interest for 5 years on any purchase. A handcrafted Tacori ring with a GIA-certified diamond, only $100 a month. Wedding bands, color bands, fashion necklaces, just $40 a month. Pick any item, pay zero down, and spread your payments over 5 years, even the sales tax. How about that amazing $3,000 pair of diamond stud earrings? Only $50 a month. Luxury pre-owned Rolex watches also included. While interest rates are going up and up at other places, Genesis is offering real interest rates relief, and you need to take advantage of this. 0.0 for 5 years on approved credit. This makes everything more affordable, and it's just the smartest way to buy. Don't miss this amazing offer. All natural and lab-grown diamonds included, now through June 30th at Genesis Diamonds, 2 locations, Green Hills and Cool Springs.